Before I start the show, big shout out to Burton Snowboards and Jonathan, who coordinated my brand new stuff for this year. I'm spoiled with an all-new setup. The FNRad Snowboard Podcast is presented by Flojoy Water. Burton sent me a brand new pair of socks last week. It sounds like such a small thing, but it really did make my old boots feel like new boots. I think boots are the most important part of my snowboard kit, and new Burton rulers arrived today. Check out Burton boots and socks at a Burton dealer near you, or check out burton.com. For listeners in the Lower Mainland, Burton recently opened a flagship store on West 4th in Vancouver, as well as a partner store in Banff with Unlimited. Visit your local Burton retailer. Bluebird Coffee Tuning and Rentals in Squamish, BC is the coolest new stop just 20 seconds off the Sea to Sky Highway on your way to Whistler. Drop in for the world's best cup of coffee, killer smoothies, and a true local vibe born out of 90s snowboard culture and music. They offer performance ski and snowboard tunes with state-of-the-art equipment. They've got premium rental fleets of Jones, Solomon, Libtech, and Burton, including Burton Step-Ons. And if you haven't gotten yourself one yet, Bluebird will even sell you a rad power bike. These bikes are so fun. For a blend of expert knowledge, convenience, and a lot of charm, stop in and say hi to Bluebird, the raddest mandatory new stop on your way to Whistler. Fix bindings are now guaranteed for life, and I'm stoked to report that Fix has discs for Burton's channel system. Riding fixes at Baldface Valhalla was the best last week. The new Block 7s really turn up the precision while keeping it simple. Please check out fixbindingco.com. Anon Optics make the world's best snowboarding goggles. I just received a brand new pair of M6s, and the entire experience was FNRad. From the case they come in to the magnetic face mask and the quick change lenses, I have to say, Anon's got me covered for Vancouver's variable snow conditions. Check out Anon's helmets, goggles, and MFI face masks at an Anon dealer near you or at AnonOptics.com. Hey listeners, this one's for you. Upline Brewing is beer for snowboarders by longtime Pacific Northwest shredder and FNRad listener Carl Montoya, who started Upline so you can crack a cold one anytime. No buzz, no slowdown, just good vibes. Unlike most NA beers, these actually taste legit, and they're brewed with adaptogens for a mellow uplift. The Steezy Golden Lager and Crushin' IPA come in at just 25 and 50 calories and feature artwork from local legends like Quincy Quigg. Have one at lunch, grab another lap, hit the after party, and still wake up for first chair or the bank slalom podium. Drinking regular beers, toss some Uplines into the lineup. The natural electrolytes help you stay hydrated and keep crushing. FNRad listeners score 15% off at uplinebrewing.com with code FNRAD, or set up a subscription, save more, and never run out. Upline Brewing, brewed to adapt, crafted to elevate. Support also comes from the Pro Standard. Ken Achenbach has done it again with the push-button quick release for step-on bindings. Get them at prostandard.com before they sell out. Pacific Border, Vancouver's premium snow skate and surf shop on West 4th Avenue. Check out pacificborder.com. And 1910, the collaborative artworks of Jamie Lynn and Scof, two friends on a creative journey together, bonded by their love of art, music, and snowboarding. Go to the number 9, teen10.com for their latest collection. We need to thank our friends at Mount Seymour, Grouse Mountain, and Cypress Mountain for their continued support of FNRad, as well as Essential Toothpaste tabs. I love them, I use them, go buy them today. Jeff Patterson is a father of two and a legendary snowboard park builder, snowboard photographer, drone operator, you've seen his work droning for the Natural Selection Tour, and world-class snowboard collector, soon-to-be museum curator. I've known Jeff for years now, and every time our paths cross, it's always a great conversation about snowboarding or life in general. Jeff's a part of the glue that holds the snowboarding community together, and I'm stoked to have him on the show. Here's Jeff Patterson.
Standard BC hockey kid. Dad's really big in hockey, like wrote Canadian minor hockey coaching manuals, like
Wow.
come from a pretty big hockey family.
Yep.
And yeah, I went from Cranbrook's like hockey town, BC, right? Like it's
of course
one of them anyways.
Yeah.
14 or whatever, 13. At some point along the way, we all started seeing like there was a pretty good BMX and skateboard scene ish for what we had.
Yeah.
And I remember like seeing, I think the first board that I ever saw in person was like, remember Rick he was a filmer, he's in Pemberton. He had come back from Calgary, from the snowboard shop or whatever, and brought a barfoot back. And we were like doing something, and he pulled it out, and we were like, what's that? And then I think I was talking about it, and then one of the older guys that was in our neighborhood that would like let us use their BB guns and do all this stuff, you know?
Yeah.
He was like, oh, I have one of those. We
guys.
ordered from like Action Now, and he had this red top performer, which I still have. It was like one of the first boards that he was like, here you go. And I put shoes on and went out to the hill around the side of the house.
Holy
and
shit.
Went down on this little performer. And then years later, he was like, hey, do you want that board? You know, like this was when I had moved to Banff, which would have been after graduation, 94, I say. And
yeah.
I was like, what do you want for it? And he's like, oh, whatever's in your pocket, you know, kind of thing. And yeah, he was just moving and had it.
Damn.
So, and that was kind of it was weird. I don't know why. That was like I think that might have started the kind of obsession of like, oh, this is cool. Like this is an old board. And we had already gone way past that, obviously. You know,
of course.
Like we're in 90s, 95, 96, whatever it was. So it would have been, I had been in Banff for a few years already. So it was probably early 2000s when he did that. So gear has gone through everything's changed. But when I was in Banff, I moved up there. Another buddy of mine, this guy, Pete Navin, we used to go to Banff all the time to compete. And there was always contests, so we'd have a crew of guys from Cranbrook. Rob Fagan, who ended up on the Canadian Olympic team for border cross. He's coaching the U.S. team now. That's who I went to build the border cross training stuff for. He's the coach. So yeah, small world in that way. But he had gone to New Zealand the year prior. I think I knew it was like a sales rep for Silence or somebody that was tied in that was like, hey, if you want to go to New Zealand, you should hook up with Pete and the crew from Banff. They're going.
No way.
So like through the grapevine, called Pete at Rude Boys. He's like, let's go to. I went to New Zealand, ended up spending the summer out there with him. Met some other guys, and he's like, you should move to Banff, and got hired by Rob Stevens, who's like old ride guy, whatever.
Yeah.
He hired me to be an instructor. And I didn't really want to be an instructor. It was just a way to get to Banff to go ride. And he figured that out pretty quick. So it was awesome. He was the best boss. Like, show up in the morning and he'd be like, yeah, we don't have any lessons, Patterson. So let's go do some free riding. And I'd get my minimum pay to just show up.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing.
Then, I had been doing for years prior to that, I'd been doing ride along in the snowcats in Kimberley. Because we were getting in trouble there for building jumps, basically. And so we pulled into the ski patrol at some point, and a young ski patrol guy that was kind of with it was like, hey, if we're going to keep doing this and you guys get in trouble, why don't we try to build something for you? So we told the hill where we would like to do some stuff. The cat drivers thought it was hilarious. They were pushing piles up for us, and it'd be like nighttime. I'm like 15 or 14, whatever, and sitting in the passenger seat, and they'd be like, how's that work? And pushing the sketchiest, like jump to pile landings,
of
like
course.
you're going to destroy yourself.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was like the perfect thing ever. And then it'd be nighttime, and they'd be like, all right, let's see you want to see if it works? Like shine their lights on, and we'd be like, and that's how it started. It was like riding along. We built a park in Kimberley. And so when I went to Banff, I had this, like, I'd been in cats riding along with these old groomer guys for years already. And I put it out there that I wanted to try to start doing park work. And at some point, the original groomer that was working for Norquay, which was one of the only places in Alberta that was doing pipe at the time as well, kind of pretty big support for snowboarding at the time.
Yeah.
He got caught, I think, a few times sleeping on the job, basically. And the owner of the resort knew I'd kind of been hassling him for a while. And I was at work one afternoon, and he came up, when the hill's closed today, you got to come up to the shop. And basically the mechanic at the time was like, you said you've ridden along with these dudes, like, so you know how they work? I'm like, well, I've never driven, like, can't, but, and pretty much gave me the, like, snowcats for dummies, like, 20-minute run through in the cat shop, and then opened the door to the cat shop, and the cat was inside, and was like, okay, well, your first thing is you've got to get out of this cat shop without breaking anything. It was like,
How old are you at this point?
I would have been, it was like the year after graduation. So I don't know, 18.
18, 19. So right away.
And then, and so that was the end of my, like instructing.
Totally.
And started building parks up for Norquay. And then it turned into like, it was right at the boom of, there was tons of money in events, right? There was lots of events being done. The Coastal Bordercross series started like a year or two later. Alberta Snowboarding Association was huge at that time. Like everyone was doing, and it was the events where it was like, you could race, you could do pipe, you could do everything. Yeah. There was no, I think there was definitely some jumping. I want to say there was some like a big air there was, but it wasn't any kind of like, it was always something that was special on the side. There was never an event for the big air.
Oh,
I think Sunshine ran a big air in the spring. But anyway.
Where is Norquay compared to Sunshine?
So Norquay is when you're in Banff, you look right up at it. Like it's the one that's right up above, like a few minute drive up the road. Yeah,
because early Snowboard Canada, concrete powder, there's lots of Norquay shots.
Well, they were one of the first. So if you go back to some of the first events in Canada, which were like the 83, 84, like Ken and the guys ran. So they ran the North American Championships or whatever was 80. First one was 83 or 84. I have a t-shirt from it somewhere. Anyway. And it was at Sunshine. And then somewhere along the line, I don't know if it was the second year. I should have looked at this stuff. But anyway, somewhere in the first few years there, they moved it and it was at Norquay.
Right.
And they had a twin pipe. So it was like two pipes with a spine in between. And they had like a van at the bottom to jib. And like they were one of the first resorts in Alberta that brought Doug Waugh was the guy who invented the pipe dragon.
Oh, wow.
And so he would come up. There was only one, so he would do the pipes and it was like a circuit for him.
Yeah.
So when he came up to Canada, I don't know what he did on the East Coast at that point, but I'm trying to think of a year what it would have been, but in the 90s, when that thing, whatever it was that it came out, he would come up like once or twice a year and he would do COP, and then Norquay was one of the other ones. And I don't know if Lake Louise at that point had done it or not, or Sunshine, but Norquay was one of the first like ski hills they were very park, like they were from the start quite wanted to do jumps, wanted to do rails.
How do we fail people so badly by not
having transitions anymore?
Transitions everywhere.
I don't. Honestly, I wish I could. Having kids now at the age they are. Whistler the last couple of years has done that. The mini pipe, and it's the most. It's so
still
fun.
Feels big to me, but
well, that's exactly it, right? Yeah. But it's sessions are. It's so
it goes.
And I understand from coming from a world of when I was working building parks and stuff. There's a lot of manpower and a lot of snowmaking go into like even the small old pipes. And then if you're at a resort that that doesn't have the snowmaking capacity or can't do earthworks.
Yeah.
Also, if you think about how pipes have changed, like when we first started seeing half decent pipes, they weren't that good.
No, they weren't.
And when they were good, it was like event day.
Yeah.
And when they started getting that point where it was cut all the time, people got used to it being cut all the time. That was great, but they were also 10-foot half pipes. 10 foot half 14, pipe. It was like an 8 foot or 10 foot at start. Yeah. And then they came out with the newer pipe dragons and the newer HPG it was called, which was like sped things up for maintenance, but it was a 14 footer.
Yeah.
And that was a big change, even going from, when you think about how much extra snow you need to go from 10 feet to 14.
Right. From a user experience too, 14 was just outside the realm of safety. It felt like you were
the shape was changing. It was kind of different things. And then it had to be steeper, and they were figuring that out. And then, it kind of went from that, like 14 footers, and
to
all
22,
of a sudden it went to 28, 22.
That was wild.
So a lot of hills, I think, just kind of, in the long run, if you don't have somebody that was willing to learn to use the machine properly,
right,
and wanted to do it, you're never going to have a good pipe program to begin with.
Right.
And then you have resorts that have amazing park programs. Like Whistler has, like, how long have they been doing the park in that area?
Yeah.
And when you think about it, and no disrespect to them, like you think about how long that park's been in that same spot, but they keep building it in the same spot.
Yeah.
Like how many years? And it works. It's great.
Sure.
But you are then limited to this, like how many years did it take to figure out the flow and where the jumps would be? And now it's done. And now we build this triple line here and this, and they can change some stuff up, but there's a lot of other runs that might work. And the pipe never fit in that. Like, it's not going, you can't hit it and go to the lift.
That's true.
Right? And then they moved the lift, and they decided it was like, I don't know what the deal was with Vail, or if it was a choice by Whistler in general. But it's sad to see, because it's, man, those days when you can go up and just play around in the transitions, it's so fun.
So fun.
And so every time I go up there and I see that, like, I've talked, like, I reached out a couple of years ago because I was like, I'm going to just offer, I'd love to go up and just offer, like, I'll go dry, I'll do it for free.
Yeah.
Like, can we take the machine out and go over to Lemmings and cut the lemmings with the cutter? Like, let's do a weekend session.
That'd be so sick.
Which to me, I was like, it'd be the greatest thing. Let's bring all the kids out from all the programs, like, come and hike a transition like you know.
Yeah.
But I think it's a liability thing. You know, it's like, if you build something on that hill that isn't marked as a again, this is just my opinion, I don't know exactly how it works,
right,
but, like, I think it from what I was told is, like, you know, the park is marked in a way on the map, everyone knows where it is, it's maintained. To go outside of that to do anything, it's then, like, it's an event.
I never thought
and then
about
Vail
that. Yeah.
wants to have you need event insurance, you need to have, you know, so to go to do that, you all of a sudden have to have a bunch of money. And that I always dream about it. I, like, whenever I ride by and see that machine just sitting there, and
Yeah.
I've been long out of the game of building parks, but I still, like, I know where an 11-foot or a 14-foot cutter is that a friend of mine bought years ago.
Whoa.
And it's sitting in a yard.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, how
go
do I
steal
find someone that has? And I've talked to, like, Lucas and Steve. Like, I've talked to a bunch of other guys who are in the same. We all are. Why isn't there any pipe? Like, there's no pipe contest anymore.
Yeah.
And there's no mini pipes.
No
and
mini
pipes. I
pipes.
think it's starting to kind of catch on. And I'm like, I would love to be able to just, like, start, like, let's do it. But also now the new machines aren't, a lot of them don't come plumbed for anything to be put on the front anymore, because you have to order those park cats with, like, implements to put plumbing out the front.
Of course.
Right?
Of course.
And when they stopped using them, when park cats stopped your winches or whatever, if the hill isn't using it to run a snowblower or run something that needs that hydraulic switcher,
Then
now you look at
there.
the cats and they're not, like, some places probably have them, but now all of a sudden you have these machines that they're specially to order, and then the blade that changes every few years, and all of a sudden you need a different mechanism to attach it. And
Right.
so there's all these resorts that have cutters that are just rusting.
I went
away.
after
They're rusting away.
I went after the Seymour one.
Did
because they terraformed that. It's just sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, dude,
There's
just
hills all over the place with earthwork done.
So
right?
they found it. It's rusted out, and pieces have been poached off it and sold to someone else to fix somewhere else.
Kimberly's Boneyard has, like, at one point they had 3 cutters
What?
because RCR had all these, you know, we're not doing parks, we're not, you know, and it was
Wow.
like the Zog got sold, that got only used for a year or two, and then there was, like, Fernie had a regular pipe dragon back in the day that it was in their Boneyard. There was 2 or 3 10 or 11 foot HPGs and 14 foot, and Kimberly actually stripped, like, one of their cutters. They tore it apart to make a rainbow rail. Like, when you think about that, like, you know, instead of just buying some wood, like, metal and weld, they tore off the chain and the hydraulic pumps and all the stuff.
What did those things cost? Like $100,000 or something?
At the time, I think those ones were probably less. Like, the smaller ones, they're still substantial, like 40, 50 grand.
That's a lot of money.
I think now they're scrap metal.
Oh my God.
But like I said, when you see those things and you could make them work, it'd be great to, I always have these big things where I'm like, I could get a trailer and we'll start this event. And we'll try to get this mini.
I was
pipe,
like, let's crowdsource it from the podcast.
Yeah.
How many people would buy a future pipe pass for $100, right?
Mini pipe pass.
Yeah.
It's almost gotten to the point where it could go back to what Doug did, where it was like that original pipe dragon came. This is what we need to run it. Like, we'll come to your resort, and it was drag behind. So you drop the tiller, hook up this pintle hook. You drag the old pipe dragon, like, looking out the window.
Yeah.
My neck's still permanently fucked from it. Like, you know, 2 years straight of, like, sitting in a machine, like, trying to run out the back window.
So they're impossible to run then. Like, what do you get? You need to get a big mirror or something.
First ones had these big, like, rollers.
I remember the rollers.
Like the old shredder thing. So
yeah.
the big rollers with this wheel that was like a pizza cutter wheel that would go down to stop it from being pushed out.
Oh.
So you would set up, get into place where you'd, like, be in the right spot to start.
Yeah.
And then you drop the pizza wheel, which would, like, it's like a rudder.
Yeah.
To stop, because those rollers would always just start. You'd start naturally.
Oh, I see.
So the wheel would go in, and then it would be, it would drag behind. So you were looking out over your right shoulder, and the machine would open up and lay on the wall, right? So the whole time you were driving, you're trying to drive straight, and you're trying to keep the machine, but you're not watching it at that point. So the first couple of years, I mean, they left beautiful finished walls. Like, they were great machines for what they were. Yeah. But like, the chains were plastic. We just had this conversation, like an old park buddy of mine that's down in Vermont there, and he made a post about, he had a hat like the pipe dragon. I'm like, oh yeah, I had one of those tucked away in the archive. And I said, I still remember the first time at Norquay, like, you know, like, and it was hours to do a pipe at that point too, because it was slow, right? It was paddles, so it had the auger that would kind of skim it, and paddles, and he'd be looking out, and, you know, hours and hours of doing this thing to get it right. And I remember the first time the chain blew up, because plastic would wear. Yeah. And it's flipping and all of a sudden you'd hear like, dang, and then it was like an eruption, because all the pins would start exploding out of this plastic chain, and those big paddles were like stainless steel scrapers. Just would start flying out. So you'd just be like, you just hear like, and the pieces all through the middle of the pipe. You're picking up these big like chain pins and like broken plastic from the chain. And they changed over the years. They went like the first gen and second gen were all plastic, and then they went to actual chain. Like, it started becoming like a legit chain. But like, anyone who used to run them has had that experience. And then he said, oh yeah, I used to steal. What did he tell me? I used to go into the cafeteria because they had the vats of oil and stuff, and he's like, I used to steal because it would wear on these like plastic part. It would always wear, but there was nothing that lubricated other than the water from it melting, right? So he said to stop it because it was so noisy and it would wear, the plastic would wear so quick. He would like mop it down with like Crisco oil or something, so that it would slide better, because he was like, he just knew at some point they were going to explode in all these pieces.
That's insane.
But yeah,
so that was one of the main reasons. So that, long story short, I went to Banff, and that was my into park building, park and pipe building, and then event work. Started doing events. So going all the way back to the BMX stuff, do you do BMX, and then that leads into skateboarding, and then skateboarding goes to snowboarding, or was it just straight from BMX to?
It wasn't even that big. Like, we had a BMX track, but it wasn't really a big scene of BMX in Cranbrook. So it was like, I remember it was skateboarding. There was lots of like the standard 80s, like launch ramps, doing all the things. And transportation more than like skateboarding, but there wasn't tons of what I remember. There was some really good skateboarders in our town, but it wasn't like a big scene for skateboarding. There was definitely some freestyle biker guys that were like, oh man, like the good like the street style. And I think it went from, there was like a big half pipe in Cranbrook, and I can't remember who owned it, but it was a big deal. Like, there was a few guys that could ride it that were just unbelievable, you know, but it was in somebody's backyard. We'd always just be little BMX, kids, just like, holy crap. Yeah. Sick. So I think it went from, you know, skateboarding, but nothing super serious, just as kids did skateboarding. And then the intro to snowboarding was like, I feel like it came pretty quickly with, it was all Alberta, like it was all the snowboard shop guys, like they all started coming out. I was hockey, and then I did a year where I was really into like freestyle skiing, like moguls or whatever, and I thought it was the coolest thing.
Like those Scott Schmidt.
Yeah, we had a couple, like Trenton Painter was like he's these coaches, the Canadian type, like unbelievably good skier. Yeah. And I'm trying to remember his name. There was a couple local guys who were just phenomenally good freestyle skiers. Yeah. And we had a freestyle ski program in Kimberley. And I think what happened was, I got to the point where with hockey, you know, when you get a kid, you're like, your parents were kind of like, hey, listen, like, you can't do both. You can't do freestyle. You can't ski and buy this and then play hockey and do it. And you need all this gear. And I think, I didn't know, I just had this freedom of, when we started skiing, it was kind of like, you get dropped off in the morning, you're at the hill at 9, you're with your friends, and you're there all day. And Kimberley used to have night skiing, like we used to be there any time. It used to be 5 days a week or whatever, right? So there was time we'd get dropped off and be from 9 in the morning till 9 at night. And you're like,
it's amazing.
And I think that freedom of like not being at the arena, not having someone telling you
coach
what to do,
with the thing.
Yeah, and I think along with that is like, now I can think back of that of like, we're talking about my son, like,
yeah,
I'm like, I was undiagnosed. I had ADHD. I had these things where, but I was like, I get to do what I want. No one's telling me, and not knowing, you know. And so when I did that initial breakaway from the hockey thing was a big deal, but then that same winter, because of I had already seen the snowboard from the neighbor and I had seen these other things, and then I was like, man, that looks fun. There was these local guys, man. Warren Lucan was his name. One of them, phenomenally good snowboarder back in the day. Was part of moved up to Alberta in the end, Team Core guys and all that.
Oh, sick.
But we saw these guys, and there was only a couple of them on Kimberley, and I think it was like myself and Rob Fagan and this guy Cody and Mike Patton. There was this group of guys that were all skateboarding at the time, and we're like, whoa, that is what we want to do. Yeah. And then the push was on. We all wanted to get snowboards. And so the year that I was supposed to be doing like serious freestyle, we'd like have our freestyle training in the morning, and it was the same, like, okay, so like we're done with our training, you guys. Yeah. And like I'd be bailing to the lodge to get rid of my skis to go get my snowboard. And that was it. That was like, I think the coach that we had at the time was like, you can't,
starts looking,
you gotta do one or the other. And I was like,
ski.
all right, peace. And that was it.
Amazing.
And it was just like that perfect timing of it was still like the gear still sucked. Like it was like exactly from, you know, the timeline of that, the black snow, the old, you know, there was some like old weird boards that were out that were super heavy. And then I remember the first board, like I saved to buy a board, and we went down to the States. There's this shop called Lulu's. Nice. It was like everything in Cranbrook when we first saw snowboards. I think there were thousands. Like, it was so much money.
Yeah,
you saw the Burton stuff, and it was just
Burton.
Like,
there was a Burton year where they had a distributor, Gilmore Sports, and the boards retailed. It was $1,600. I'm thinking insane. For like a brushy with like air bindings.
Yeah.
Those black.
So we'd go.
Bindings.
It was pre that. I think it was pre brushy. It would have been like it would have just been the air, like the black air, and actually, the cruiser, and the free 5, maybe like those. That year was the breakover year,
right?
But this shop in Sandpoint, or Spokane, would do an end of year. It was like this. At the end of the year, they'd sell off everything, and
whatever's left,
and it was cheap, right? It was like half price, and at the time, the Canadian dollar wasn't bad, I don't think. But I remember going down and was like, I bought a new pants and a jacket and a Kemper Rampage. It was like the 3-step fluorescent bindings, the gray speckle top Kemper Rampage. Yeah, thing weighed like 50 pounds.
My buddy had the 160 of that, Dwayne, and I was so jealous. Yeah. A brand new Kemper. It said Kemper on the bottom. That Kemper bottom was so iconic from
that kind of
Salaz, and like
there's a lot of weird stuff. Yeah, and it's that timeline, right? We all associate it now with like, oh, I remember that board. Yeah, but like boards were terrible. They did not flex. But they did not do anything.
The Kemper freestyle, the blacktop one,
the next year, right,
was actually amazing.
Yeah. So I think that was kind of it. We had that Kemper. I learned how to snowboard. Yeah. We all started. That was like, and it was straight into modifying stuff, right? Like the 3-strap bindings were cut. The 3rd strap came off. We were screwing chunks of wood and plexi from the shop class into the heels of our Sorels so that they wouldn't slip out of the bindings. Wow. We were like Velcro strapping, because remember those bindings, you'd like hit it off anything and the buckles would just unbuckle. Yep. And you'd be like board off. So that happened, and it was just, it seems like it happened so fast that it was kind of like people would have these boards and they were so far ahead, but then they weren't, and you gotta have a wider stance, and it was T-nuts. And so we started having all these things, and it was like, we went from this group of guys there was like, not many of us. So there was a very small group, which is why that's how the park stuff came about, is like, we got singled out because there was only 10 guys on the hill on snowboards or whatever it was. So when anything happened, it wasn't like you were like, it wasn't us, like when somebody is like, a bunch of snowboarders jumped off the lift into the, and you're like, it wasn't us. Yeah.
It was you guys. Yeah. Yeah.
So, that whole thing was just and it was such a cool vibe for, like lots of people have shared of like, the scene was so small that it was kind of like, I remember driving up to Calgary on weekends because we could go to the snowboard shop, and
Sick.
see, you know, Mom Ock and see Ken, and it was like that was where everybody was from, and everyone's stuff came from there, and it was the coolest spot.
How
and
far of a drive is that?
it was like 4.5 hours or 4 hours. But at the same time, we're also like, you go to Lake Louise or Fortress, or like there was always events too.
Oh,
so
sick.
it was kind of like whoever it was that had their driving license first.
Yeah.
And we would like go to Banff and pile into the YMCA, or like, you know, have 12 of us in a hotel room and pretend we weren't, you know, like it was
Totally
the same thing everyone always does.
Yeah. It's happening all over Canada and the States at that time.
And I think the reality of seeing that first generation of those, like the Calgary guys. So I'm just gonna flip my phone off here, but
yeah, the first generation is what Ken and Alex and Schwarty and
Schwarty, Boyer.
Oh my God, Boyer.
And so we would, you know, you knew who they were. Everyone kind of knew. Oh,
had you seen
and it was like
Into
lots
the
of
Snow
Team
Zone?
Extreme headbands coming out of the time, like Steve Matthews and all those guys. But so that scene we were close enough to that Lake Louise Sunshine that we were catching. Everyone was into it in Kimberley Fernie. We had there was no one there, so you'd roll up to Fernie and you met the people that were snowboarding. You had this crew of people and everyone was doing the same thing, which was amazing to think of how small it really was at that point.
So small, yeah.
And then seeing these people that were like starting to hit the magazines, we're like, oh, he was at the shop. You know, like you knew who they were.
Yeah.
So that was really cool to come through that whole thing, and the scene within Banff, I think, was what Ken and that whole crew, Colin White was involved early days. I don't remember who else was, but like the Calgary start of that whole thing, and then the skaters opened, and so, like there was a big push with like skateboard, snowboard, everything out of Calgary, and I think we're really lucky at that point because I don't think it was as like closed-minded as what happened in the States, because when the doors started opening, like there's photos of like I forget who it was that I saw the photos of from Yuckinamaki.
Schwarty was on there.
Who was Yuckinamaki, the owner? What's his name?
Oh, I don't remember the guy's name.
I'm spacing out. Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's
he
sent me
photos of like he was working at Sunshine and had a Lonnie Toft, and he's got video, like 8mm footage of him shredding this Lonnie Toft like after work. Like he wouldn't allow it on the lifts, but he was shredding it up there. And the story is that he left it in like the patrol shack or anything. There was it was kicking around for years.
Yeah.
But that was like, 1976 or
That's
something
it.
like
That's
that.
it.
Like
yeah. Ken said that he thinks he may have had lift access in 79, but that's because
his mom was
part
of the race.
Yeah, the race thing. But there was also somebody else's dad was like the GM.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't.
And then they did the fake passes.
They weren't worrying about the first couple of years. They didn't even know to ask.
Yeah.
It was just
and
like you're skiing all day.
And then they gave them permission to do like the certification. So
that's
they were just basically like printing like snowboard shop, you're certified. Come on out.
Oh, one of my favorite stories I've ever heard from the podcast, because I never thought of the logistics of it. But Duncan Howitt's like, okay, we're doing this pass program at Baker. And he goes, it's a fucking nightmare, because the guy shows up and he's like, I already did my test. Where's your pass? I left it at home. It's like, there's no, that's not the way to do it.
And watch you.
Right.
Yeah. And I think everyone went through that. Like we had that the first year, maybe 2 years in Kimberley, it was like, you have to wait you're not allowed on the lift. You have to wait and go up the T-bar.
That's right. Which is harder.
With this, and you had to make it up the T-bar with one of the ski instructors, and then if they could see that you could do turns and stop, when you got to the bottom, they came and put one of those colored circle stickers on your pass and re-laminated it, or
unbelievable.
whatever it
what
was.
What a nightmare.
Yeah, but I mean, at the time, it seems like when you think of it now, it'd be crazy. But at the time, like you said, there was 20 people that were coming in to do that.
Yeah,
maybe.
I think,
and maybe there were some others that came that didn't care to do it, or whatever.
Right.
But it was it wasn't even an issue when you thought about it, because you knew all the you
knew everybody
had the thing. But
I made a fake pass for Mattawa
to be
for
certified
Mount Antoine. I made it out of tape, So it looked, and then the guy looked at it and goes, no, we don't take these ones. I'm like, oh, really? You're going to have to do the test. I did the test. I stopped, got off the chairlift. And on that first day ever riding a chairlift, I think skier friends were like cheering from the lift. Yeah, Eric, you're doing it. And I just like scorpioned, bored into my neck, riding like a 175 kick. And I'm
something
like,
that didn't flex. And,
nothing.
And
yeah.
bindings that hurt your feet.
Yeah. But I just was desperate to I remember being afraid. I'd never been on a chairlift before.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, do people fall off these? I had no idea. Right. I didn't have a skiing background. So people seemed very comfortable on the chairlift. Right. And I was like, well, this is kind of like a ride you would pay money to go on and get thrilled at,
come through skiing at all.
Yeah, none of it.
Oh, man.
And so I was like, the whole thing was just incredible. And then, two or three times later going to that hill, my dad's just sitting there at the bottom smoking, and we're trying to jump off everything. Yeah, hot lapping and hitting. I remember hitting the snowmaking. There was like snowmaking infrastructure that was like metal.
Yep.
And like a patroller going, you have no idea, those like metal edges will
pressurized
explode that
lines
fucking thing and kill all of you. Yeah.
Yeah, just trying to freak you out.
Yeah.
I think that was it though. Everyone came from that. Not that it was punk even at the time, or maybe it was and you didn't even know it, but it was such a cool thing to be involved in something that had no ties to anything that was like set in stone at that point.
Yeah, and people on the chairlift really genuinely going like, what is that?
Yeah.
Then
hearing about things like, we went through times where it was like the manager of, wherever, I don't know, it was Kimberly or what, but like, you're not allowed to run this, like you're not allowed to ride that run in the morning.
Yes.
Because it was like the rolling super wide open run under the lift, and we just go and lay into it.
Yeah.
And it was making huge ruts, right?
Sure.
So like there was a couple of us that had like, so again, same time we're all trying to get, everyone wanted stuff for free, and we had myself and another buddy in Cranbrook there. We ended up getting kind of hooked up through Burton early, like did a kind of performer program stuff through the reps. So it was the Curry brothers were the reps at the time.
Sick. And
we got some. So we were like, we're allowed one setup for racing one, and so we had these race boards, like factory prime. We'd never raced.
Wait, who are the Curry brothers?
They were from Calgary,
not Warren
Edmonton.
Curry.
Yeah, Warren and Scott. Oh, wow. So the brothers they were like the original Burton.
Damn.
Western.
They got deep roots.
Yeah, really deep roots.
Those Damn.
Guys, both of them.
Like, shout out
such
Warren.
Legends. Yeah.
And what's his brother?
Scott.
Sick.
Yeah. And super supportive of Alberta snowboarding for a long time. Right?
Dope.
So we were through the shop in Cranbrook, had these. We thought it was the greatest thing ever. Could order like a jacket and boozy, one of each thing basically.
Yeah.
Where you're still paying for it, but like
in your
I'm
bag.
sponsored
Right,
half price.
Right. Yeah.
But buying these race boards and it'd be like, what are you gonna do in the morning in Kimberley? Like it's not. We weren't really jumping off stuff, and if we were, it wasn't like now where there's parks. So we just like anything, you go up and it's fresh corduroy, and one thing can be said is like the grooming in those places is phenomenal. And so we're showing up with these like race boards with like 60-degree stances and 3-strap bindings and just laying into it. And there was a couple other guys on the hill that were really big like full-on racer guys that ended up down on the coast on the Canadian like team and all that. But,
sick.
So we'd go on this rolling big wide open, and just everyone would take kind of the same
laps. Making
and they got so fired up at us because there was these 6-8 inch deep trenches everywhere. So they banned us from like, you're not allowed. And it started with one of the guys was an instructor, and they came up and were like, you're not allowed to do that anymore, like no more. And he came up to us like, yeah, they told me I'm not allowed to trench the thing anymore. Like, well, yeah, right. And then it was like, so then to prove a point,
game on.
We went on the next morning and like did twice as many laps in the same, without him, and then we got it shut down. And it's kind of like, that's the thing you'd never, like, you can't even pretend to imagine what it was like at the time.
No
jumping. And you think of people like, you're not allowed to jump, you're not
no
allowed
jumping
to leave trenches,
in the air.
and then it was
we're
like,
cutting your pass if you jump in the air.
Yeah.
They're following you down. Don't go in the air.
And like we had the same that same scenario of like why I ended up going on a path to parks of like getting in trouble jumping T-bar lines, jumping these things. It's like, remember specifically, like that's what they do. They clip the corner of your pass.
Corner pass.
So like clip. Corner of your pass is clipped, you're screwed. Like you get caught again, it's going away for a week or whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember having the corner of the pass clipped,
Yep.
And then going home and like, you always put stickers over your passes back in the day, right?
Sure.
Going home and like engineering a new corner to the pass and like covering it with enough stickers that like anyone that grabbed that thing, if we got caught again, like
I found
your pass clipped
that
and they're clipping the corner.
You could just go in and say, I lost my pass. And even if they charge you $25, it's worth it, because otherwise you get caught one more time. The guy's looking at you going, Eric, I know you had your corner clipped already. You go, no, I didn't. You're thinking of last year. I was like, God damn it. Yeah. I saw Ski Patrol at Grouse on one of our first powder days, a couple days back.
Yeah.
And Olympic Chair opens, and I was like, hey, how's it going? And just the way he says my name, hey, Eric, like he's so bummed. And I'm like,
what did you do? What did you do to him?
It's just been like 10 years of cat and mouse, or 20 years of cat and mouse. Like where it's like the lines are down where you're not supposed to be. Was that you? Of course it wasn't me. But then he'll catch me in there, kick me off for a week or whatever. Yeah. I remember.
You're like, thanks, I'll just go to the other.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be arrogant about it. But Grant Wall, one time, I called and said, hey, my pass is still not active. They said it'd be good in a week. And he goes, I don't understand. Like, I need you to tell me what is the benefit of me having you up here. Like, you're just out of bounds. Like, it's not a benefit to me. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I'll stay in balance, kind of thing. I've been really good. I've been pretty good. But I think the main thing is that I now understand more from their side of the show.
Right. Yeah,
Ski Patrol is keeping a lot of people safe.
Yeah.
And they have training to do emergency room doctor stuff.
Yeah.
Remote in the mountains. It's crazy. So to have some reckless asshole.
You don't think of the big picture of that kind of stuff. Even just that one track that someone.
The one track.
Somebody went in there. Like,
and then 3 kids follow it. Yeah. And now Ski Patrol's in there.
North Shore
Rescue's in there. Right.
Yeah. Anyway, big tangent there anyways.
Yes.
I don't know where we started. Where did we start on that one?
Because there was already this kind of, and you've talked about it, there's already this conflict between like, okay, we're new to the hill this way, right? Like nobody's ever ridden like this before. Why are you hitting the side of the Ski Patrol hut? Stop it. And you're like, well, there's a quarter pipe there, right? Okay, so then they get someone like you to start building features that actually attract people away from the infrastructure and the lift lines and places that are dangerous.
I think that's it. It was that changeover of part was that they were like, let's get them all to one place, which was big, and granted, it worked.
It totally worked.
And it was like, that was what, at the time, you think of all the videos, everyone's watching videos, like side hits, like tons of those old videos. There wasn't parks.
There wasn't parks.
It was like they were riding.
When was that Bear Park? That was like 91, I think.
I don't know.
92? Maybe 93 even.
Yeah, I don't really know. You know what a story I heard too? I think I shared with you, like, everyone's like, well, who did the first parks? Who did this? Who did that? And I was told, I don't know if it was Ken that told me or Rob Stevens or one of them, but like one of the first, like what they would call a park was remember outside of Calgary in Bragg Creek. There was there used to be a hill there called Wintergreen.
Wintergreen, I've heard about it.
But before it was Wintergreen, it was like Buffalo Mountain. I forget what it was called.
Sure.
Anyway, apparently that was like the first place that like when everyone wanted to start jumping on stuff. They were like, oh, yeah, go, like, you guys want to shovel up a thing to a picnic table? Or they had some little, like, skateboard type park. Which
Sick.
Would have been late 80s.
Wow.
Or mid 80s. But I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, they're unknown. Like, that hill disappeared. It's not there anymore.
Yeah, the Avalanche Archives guy sent me something about the Mount Reba Park in 91 or something. They did a feature on it and some magazine and stuff. But, yeah. There's nothing in the 80s.
No.
That's pretty cool.
No, and that's the thing. It was all, you didn't need, like, that, all that stuff came from the boom of, like, you never saw a good half pipe till there was enough people to justify having a piece of equipment that was expensive enough to build it properly, right? Like no one needed to have it. And when Ken and those guys did the early ones where you see it was pushed up hand-shaped trenches.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah.
Still, like, when pipes started getting cut with a machine, is when all of a sudden that timeline of and the progression of what people could do, like you had a real transition. But when you think of, it was a natural progression to go to as big as they are, because think of skateboard half pipes. How big was a full vert ramp? And all of a sudden we're on boards that are 3 times as long.
Yeah, true.
And they're 10 feet high.
Yeah.
Like there was a reason no one could land in the only person that could ride those transitions and get, the theory of like, you can only go as high as the transitions are. And then you watch Michael Chuck. Like
that was wild.
And everyone's like, oh, I don't get that. Like,
I don't understand what he's doing. How did he go that high up in the air?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was wild.
There's no how many people can do that and just couldn't actually ride transitions to the point where you can hold enough speed to get out of the transition higher than you could.
It was him. There was no one else that did it. No, I can't think of any other example.
No, not at the time. There wasn't. I mean,
no one else.
There's some phenomenal pipe riders, and obviously it's like a way different scene.
Yeah, that was like Michael Chuck's. Those couple of shots from that West Beach, contest.
That was my first published sequence. Was that double?
That double.
Like running. I was there working for. I was actually working for SBC as their like venue. I did all the like builds for their events for a while.
Cool.
Whistler, I didn't build the pipe. I was working on the big air during that one, but I think Petrie built the pipe.
Sick.
I think, yeah. But I remember being on the deck and knowing I've known Mike forever because he was part of that Alberta.
Right.
Right?
He was younger
and
than
he was
the
just
Al Clark generation. Right.
Good. And I remember him like going up to drop in to do that, and I was on one side of the pipe, and I remember like he dropped in, I ran down, like dove to get the so I could get the angle and like shooting slide film, but
unreal.
Yeah, like those.
What was your slide film? What like Ectochrome or
Velvia?
Velvia.
Yeah.
Sick.
I love Velvia.
How did you get into shooting? Like, couldn't you have just stayed a park builder professional the whole way through?
Probably. It's a good question. I thought about this a lot because I've gone back to do over the years. I've never like completely pulled away from anything,
right?
As far as park building goes, but I spent so many years going. I did lots of back to back. So I was doing the stuff for Lake Louise, and then I was like doing terrain park manager for RCR, where I was based out of Banff, but it was like at that point it was like Kimberley, Fernie, Nakiska, Wintergreen, Fortress. They had this big thing, and we did an events circuit, and we did all. So I was just constantly on the road for a few years, where I was like one hill, start build the border cross, build a big air, like work on the pipe, and then like training guys, but also working with the crews that were there. And then that event would run on the weekend, and it would be done on the Sunday, and then Monday I might have off. I'd drive like from Lake Louise down to Fernie, or like go up to Fortress. And I kept doing that stuff, and I think, the season would end up, I did quite a few years in New Zealand. Was like involved with that, like the opening a snow park that happened there.
Oh, wow. How did you get involved with that?
That was...
Snow park was awesome. Man, an era.
I specifics I don't really remember, but
sure.
It was... what was I? Somebody had told me it was happening. Like I'd been to New Zealand a couple times, like with my buddy Pete and Avon, and I'd gone down a couple times. I'd worked at a snowcat place down there called Mount Potts out of the Methven area.
Yeah. So
I had met all these people and like just loved New Zealand in general. And then somebody was like, "There's a thing happening in." Like, I wish I could remember who it was that told me. But one of my friends from New Zealand said they're doing this thing up across from Cardrona. And I ended up getting a link, or somebody sent me something and it was like a not published webpage of Snowpark, like trying to say this is what we're doing. And the original guys who, again, I'm like, this is quite a while ago, so there might be some wrongness in this, but the original guys who wanted to start Snowpark were these two American guys, the Mesger brothers, Josh and John. They were freestyle skiers. And where Snowpark started, there was a T-bar. And the guy who owned all that land, there's this car test called the Proving Ground. It was like a big car test area and a Nordic ski area right above it. So John Lee, the Lee family owned all that land. And John actually, like the dad, that he was like OG gangster, like old school New Zealander. He started Cardrona way back in the day. Actually, he just passed away like just before Christmas. Like,
oh wow,
such a legend. Like there's photo. Anyway, I won't get into that either. But so he started Cardrona back in the day. His wife Mary was really into Nordic skiing, and I guess at some point they like just crazy stories of this guy, the stuff he had done. But he sold Cardrona, and they owned all this land in the Cardrona Valley, and he started building this Nordic area at the top of where Snowpark used to be. Somewhere along the line, some car companies were like, can we come test tires and stuff, right? Like they want to come do tire testing and stuff on when it's a North American summer or whatever. So he was like, sure, like what do you need? And they had these things cut in the hills for Nordic. And they were, well, we need the tracks like the Nordic, but it would be great if we had a shop. So he started building like, cha-ching, he figured it out. And all of a sudden they pay, I don't know what the cost them, but like think about what a car company or a brakes or they ended up building, they have their Nordic area and they built this lodge, but then in and amongst it there's like 8 or 10 of these like circuits in the hillside, and they've got a 4-car bay garage, and they've got these concrete heated strips with next to it like a Zamboni piece of ice so they can do ABS testing. They figured out that if they built all this stuff, so the Nordic area is there and it's like his wife's joy.
Sure.
But they're using the snowcats and the graders and all these things now so all these car companies can come and test in secret all these new cars and new brakes.
That's amazing.
So the T-bar was just his wife's, like they had an old T-bar and they put it in this slope and it never really ran apparently very much. It was just kind of like they got it and they had it. So the Mesker brothers hit them up and were like, we should do a park here. Like it's there. We need this. And obviously when going into it, when you don't know, it's like, we need some snowmaking. We need this. But it turned into this thing where all of a sudden it's like, okay, we're going to do this. They had the water, they had the power for generators. And I sent him a message and was like, hey, I build parks. I've been to New Zealand, like whatever. And all of a sudden it was like a couple weeks later, I'm heading to New Zealand. And there was nothing there at first. It was like, we're like pulling in, saw the slope. Like there was no snowmaking at that point. And it was kind of like, we're putting the big fences up, like where the pipe shell got dug. We're putting those up, like climbing up, nail gunning them in. And it was like myself and the son of the Lee family, Sam, who was like went on, he's the manager of the place and was for years. We're like in the mini excavator digging holes for trenches for where the snowmaking lines are going. It's starting to snow, and the first year I can't remember if we got some power and some lines in, and we had some snowmaking. That's a year like Travis and Gooch and Zaplak show up, and they're in Wanaka, and we're like, we have enough snow. We got the Zog. We have all these things, but there's not enough snow. And we're like, well, let's truck snow in, and they want to do this quarter pipe event. Yeah. So we're like trucking snow in from up the road where it's blown in, and because we don't have snowmaking yet, and we built this quarter pipe, and it was epic sunsets and everything. And somehow it was, I don't know how it all came about, but we got a hold of Travis and that, and then all of a sudden, like Travis is up and Gooch is up, and there's some sunset sessions, and like everything's awesome. It wasn't a great snow year, but there was this start of this thing, like we're doing a park, we're going to do this thing. And I can't remember specifics of how it all happened, but it was one of those things, like Travis is always up for whatever. And we were like, we have this snow, we have this thing. Well, we could, and I can't remember what the conversation led to, but we had the Zoom boom, like one of those. Yeah. And I was like, we should build a platform on the Zoom boom. We could bomb drop into the quarter pipe. And all of a sudden it was like, that was on. And it was like, it started off slow and all of a sudden it's like Travis is bomb dropping into the quarter pipe from like, I don't know how high it was, but I remember just being like, this is insane. Like it was kind of an idea for fun that turned into like, now it's scary. They're dropping rocks to make sure the transitions, I have a sequence where I like have my fish on and I'm like laying on the deck with my foot hooked in, terrified, like the whole thing's shaking, and Travis is like strapping in on the edge, dropping rocks,
Oh my!
Like just the eye opening of how different level, like I'm like I could barely even like hang an arm over because it's like, oh, we're gonna die.
And he's strapping in on top, right?
But yeah, we went from that to like all of a sudden all these pictures started showing up, and no one really knew that the first year. I think we did get snowmaking in at some point. We did maybe get the pipe open. We got a few things going. But all of a sudden it was like the next year things started getting good, and Blotto was team manager, I think, actually at that
for
point.
Burton, yeah,
photo and team manager.
I got to meet him
and
with Ken not that long ago.
I'm trying to figure out how it went, but it was like, I think it was the second year, and somebody that I knew had been talking to, maybe it was Renzi or something, and they were supposed to take the team to Chile to shoot, and Chile had a really shitty year, and we had snowmaking in place, and that's when we had like everything was firing. Like we had the pipe open, we had jump line, we had all this stuff.
I have the vision of it in my head, shot from across the
I think
valley.
so. And then I think I got a hold of Blotto, I think, and was like, hey, we're doing this thing. And they came. It was like the Unink guys came when they had those Kiss, like the pink-based Kiss space.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden those guys showed up, and that was kind of the changeover for Snowpark of like, they were talking about what they were going to do in the future and maybe putting a chairlift in and all these things. But yeah, they came out and started doing the like Uninked team shoot, and that morphed into like things just started firing down there. It was phenomenal. It was really quite a cool.
A lot of
like,
BC guys
crazy.
Went to
My whole
that
park,
scene.
the first 2 years, my entire park crew was like guys from Alberta. It was like Leanne Pelosi came down with Amanda Morant. She was like, she was running the girls' camps. Her brother Dom came.
Yeah.
So one of the big things with him, like Leanne's brother's phenomenal snowboarder too.
Yeah.
Just the quietest dude. But he was like, we built this massive jump for the Unink guys, and I think I told the story before, but Dom was like, I'm gonna guinea pig that thing, like, because they were kind of like, it was a big jump, and so Dom was up. He's like, I'm just gonna go guinea it, and I think Roman. I've talked about this, and I wish hopefully I'm not saying it wrong, but I think Roman ended up snaking it. Like he went up, and Roman caught wind that he was gonna go to hit it, and like I think he got a sled ride up and actually went and hit the jump, because they were like didn't know about speed, and then Dom had no idea. He like got off the T-bar or whatever it was at the time and like pointed it down, because you had to point it from the top of the hill to hit the jump. Like guineaed it with a back 180 and like 120, like massive. Jeez. Like, and that opened up the session of this big jump, and
rad.
We had that, and we had the wall ride that went up the next year, and so like Dwayne Weeb, he was on. Dylan, like we had a crew from Canada that was like the park crew for Snowpark for a few years, and then that year we got Frank Wells. I knew him through Vans Triple Crowns. He had brought me down to do some work for him, and they were like, we should do camps, we should do this. So I got Frank involved, and he started coming down, and then I don't know how many years we were there. I didn't go back the year after. The year there was a break. Yeah. Anyway.
When do you start shooting photos? Are you shooting photos? I started shooting
photos. Yeah, like I was always like the guy that wanted to have a camera around, and I had a video camera early, and then I had a still camera. Like when I guess when I moved to Banff, I had bought my first like SLR camera and was shooting a little bit.
What did you get? You get like a...
I had a Nikon. No, I shouldn't say that. I had a Fuji, like an old Fuji K1000 that I bought from this guy, Rudy.
Cool.
He's actually out in Whistler now. Awesome dude. And then I got a Nikon that had like motor drive or whatever. And I think, but it was, I just wanted to take, like I wasn't thinking of anything to do with professional, like to do anything. I just like taking photos.
Hobbyist.
Yep. Yeah. And then it was West Beach. It was that year, I think of, the year prior, it was either that year, like the year that I shot that sequence of Mike, which was like the 99 West Beach Classic, or maybe 98 would have been the first year I came out.
Yeah
one of those years they did the first Pro Photo Showdown. It was in the Crystal Lounge, and I don't know how I ended up there, but I remember like rolling into the Crystal Lounge, and I was there as part of the build crew for. That's probably why I got the tickets, actually, because I was working for SBC doing event build stuff.
Right.
And I remember rolling in there, and it was like the slides. Like, it was slide...
Yeah.
Like, clicking through the thing, people talking about it. And I remember sitting in there and just being like, this is epic. Like, these guys they just take photos of these guys. And, and here I was, like, I think that's probably when it clicked of, like, I was working for the magazine company that was putting on the events, Driving Cat. and I wasn't competing anymore. I wasn't really doing, and I was just like, I love taking photos. And so it was kind of like, oh, like I'm already traveling. I'm going to New Zealand. I'm going to these places.
Yeah.
And I should just take some photos because I'm there anyways. And that was what happened. Was that year I shot, like I built for the Canadian Nationals and I shot photos, and I did some other little trips and I shot photos, and then I went to West Beach and shot photos. And all of a sudden it was like Snowboard Canada. I got a magazine that had like photos from Canadian Nationals, and I had this sequence of Mike, and I had these things, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like I got my stuff printed. And it went on to the only thought in my head was like, oh, all these people were always kind of like, oh, you need a crew and a writer. And I think it was Sean Littlejohn or Scott. Well, somebody was like, oh, can you like what just write? And I was doing little write-ups, and that was my thing. Oh, well, I can write. Like I went to school.
Sure.
And I'm like, if I can sell more, and it was to me, I was like, oh, if I can tell a story and you don't need to send a writer, I can shoot. So all of a sudden I started just plugging to do trips.
Unbelievable.
And yeah, so I was building parks, but then I was also shooting photos, and I was trying to write stories, and I got tied in through, well, it was early days in Alberta. So I did a lot of stuff with TJ and Dwayne and that crew, Andrew Hardingham, like tons of stuff with Hardingham.
Jonas.
Craven early in his career, Jonas. And so I was on my way out of doing the stuff for RCR. I was getting pretty burnt out, but we did 2 years of Super Park at the lake, which were like pretty substantial builds. And I was kind of at the point where I was like, man, this is like a really phenomenal thing to be involved with. And the second year we finished Super Park at the lake, I want to say I caught wind that they were talking about canning the park program. We had just done like a pretty major reconstruction of moving the park to the front and doing all these events, and then we did Super Park, and we were getting like so many pages of coverage and video coverage and just epic. And I remember we were in a meeting at head office, and they were talking about like moving forward what they were going to do for budgets, and there was a comment made about like cutting the park budgets, which weren't that big when you consider what every resort other than them would have for a park. It wasn't like I had buddies doing Park City and Mammoth, and like the numbers were like for one resort were astronomical. Like, you know, our the like fuel budget for them was bigger than what our entire, you know. And I remember somebody making a comment, like we came with like what we had done for the year, and it was like we had X amount of pages printed and this many video, and someone from marketing basically was like, we don't count. We don't really care what the snowboard magazines like some comment regarding the fact of like, we would rather have a quarter page write up in the National Post would hit more of our target market than like it was a comment about how basically because the last 2 years that I was involved with like running the park program at the lake and all that.
Yeah.
One of the big changes was that we had always seen that the marketing department would like run with these like just the worst ads, like terrible photos. We have the biggest, we have the longest. And they did it for years unchecked.
Right.
And it was like Greg Todd's used to be at the lake, and that's how everyone saw what could be done with it. Was him and this guy Marty, who's like Gotri, did such great things. And they took that initial thing, and for 10 more years without actually doing what those guys did with that summer play, they just kept telling people they were doing it. Wow. So one of the last couple of years, part of me coming back on board was that we wouldn't allow the marketing guys to put anything out unless we approved it. Or
that makes sense.
And so I think there was a little bit of animosity in that respect,
or like resentment,
maybe. And I was also young, and I've always also had this thing where my convictions have gotten the best of me lots of times, because I will say, I've never been one to withhold. Like if it gets to the point where I can't take, like I'll just say.
Say what's going on.
So I think it was that kind of where I heard they were cutting budgets, and then I heard this like, you know, if we had half the money that you guys spent on parks, we'd be able to blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden I heard like, we're not going to do a pipe next year. We're not going to have this. And then they put out the announcement. It was like, I decided at that point I was already making pretty good money doing photos and hanging out with the boys, shooting photos and writing. And I was kind of like, man, I don't need to be in a machine all the time. And I went down and interned for Dano when they did Future Mag for a month or two, and then did a trip to New Zealand. Yeah, it was like a really cool thing. And I was like, I got to leave. Like, I got to get out of Banff because it's such an amazing spot. But I had been coming out to the coast. So I was like, I'm going to go do this thing with Dano, and then I'm moving to Whistler because I'm out there all the time anyway.
You had like 6 jobs at a time.
It's crazy.
Like
not jobs though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they were. I shouldn't say they weren't jobs. They weren't a standard. You know,
you didn't sign a contract that said these are your duties.
Yeah,
you just like showed up and worked like
I was going to take a year
animal.
to go to Banff to snowboard.
Right.
And it turned into I didn't go back to school, obviously. You know what I mean?
Man,
School of life.
Totally.
And yeah, it's I've like I said, through this whole process of figuring out that undiagnosed ADHD. I found this crew and this community that was so supportive of what we were all focusing on, not supportive of necessarily what I was doing, but
sure,
you're with like-minded people.
Yeah, I mean, you gained a great reputation as a builder, as a photographer, like people. That's the thing. Like snowboarders want to be photographed, and they want to have features to hit.
Stuff, yeah.
And you're like the full package deal where you build something and then get out of the cat. Go like, okay, well, here's the angle. I've been sitting here looking at this, building it from every angle. This is where you want to shoot the shot from.
That was a really cool thing to be able to put some of those ideas into play. Like when Craven was riding for Red Bull and Gabe.
Wow,
Gabe Altier was like the team.
Oh, yeah,
and he was like, he was super supportive. Like we got to do some really cool builds where it was like Red Bull builds, but you know, for him and his buddies, and having the ability to be able to do that kind of stuff, and also build jumps where I'd been to these resorts and like I get to do that.
Yeah.
And it's like now I look at it of like the things at Beckinsale and those, like, dude, it's so crazy.
Yeah.
But that didn't exist with us, right? Like there wasn't specialized park machines. There wasn't all these things. And in that respect, it was you never got a new cat when you were the park.
No,
you know, up until when I was like my last few years,
falling apart one. Yeah.
But it was like, oh, you're going to take it and trash it in the park, and you're going to, you know, and it's come around to this point where now is like the hills have come, like, and the machines were built for what they're doing. Like they were, like I said, they were not built for. Machines did get hammered on because they weren't built to be doing what we were necessarily doing with them. Yeah. So they were flexing in weird ways. They were doing like, you know, so from a mechanics standpoint, you can see why they were like, what the fuck? But yeah, I had a lot of jobs, and that was how all I wanted to do was snowboard. All I wanted to do was be involved and stay. Exactly. And it was like, all of a sudden I found a way I got to still hang out with all of my buddies. I still got to go hang out with all these guys who were super into it, but in the same time, I was like, I still got to go snowboarding. I still got to go. I got paid to sit in a cat to do this. I get paid to go take photos. I got to go on these trips. So that was part of it too, of like trying to sell the trip or the story idea. Yeah. Getting to write about that.
Having the writing is actually like, you talked about Dano. Yeah. So Dano, that's probably the first thing that he's saying, because someone gave him that advice, probably Sullivan or something. So like, make sure you write the story, because that's
one less person they have to pay to feed.
Yeah, and then you're going to get the trip. Yep. You get the trip because, this guy can write it and shoot it. Yeah. Right.
And I think the last few years of, I see, it's funny, like I've funneled these things in different timelines, but the last few years of that, seeing all of a sudden the video, like when internet stuff came and people were doing more video, seeing the change of, I was really lucky to at least get a few years of that. Like photographers were setting everything up.
Yes.
Going for and I shouldn't say that. They weren't setting everything up. There was still the guys who were the guys, like Kearns, like the guys who were doing the stuff.
Yeah.
They were the guys. Yeah. And photographers would love, like they would go. But in general, like there was still so much editorial coverage that was still meant so much.
Yes.
Having that magazine, having the cover, having the story.
Sully talks about it, like when the magazine sold out to the videos and started like sponsoring the videos, then the pecking order goes down for the photographers who were top dogs for a long time, and now they're like, get the fuck out of my shot. And now you're a lot of times standing behind the filmer.
The lights, it became like, you know, I shot a lot of street stuff with TJ and those guys. And it was pretty raw. Like they weren't, you know, we did a lot of stuff where it was like, we weren't there setting up lights.
Right.
And all that stuff.
Right.
And I did a year where I shot with Rome. Actually, Sullivan was the Rome guy, got me on, and then he left.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah. It was a weird one too. Gary Pendergrass. It was myself and Gary Pendergrass.
Sick.
It was awesome because in general, we were just supposed to work with Dabari and MFR.
What Rome era? MFR and
Lucas Dabari.
And Dabari and are some of those
LMP.
LMP. Oh, my favorite. That's LMP. My favorite era of Rome and the whole thing.
I wasn't specifically hired. John Cavan was shooting video for them as well.
Yeah.
But that was my kind of eye opener to. I had done tons of night photography work and flash work and stuff with TJ and all those guys, and all of a sudden it was like this changeover season of out in the backcountry with Gary and Lucas. That was fine. Like we did their thing, and everyone did their thing. But at one point, it's like, oh, we're gonna go shoot these rail guys, and I've done this lots. It's like Lucas, you know, and LMP is like these guys are phenomenal, and showing up to like Minnesota or wherever we ended up in. We ended up in Michigan, actually, I think. Yeah. And it was the first time that I really realized how much of a backseat stills were becoming.
We're starting to happen.
Because there were some really cool spots, and there was stuff to set up. But all of a sudden, you know, I remember like being able to set up stuff where I could slow shutter and pop a flash and get some cool, you know. And all of a sudden, I couldn't anymore because they had like halogen work lights set up. There was a generator running, and then their fisheye depth lens at the side, and there was no way to get. I mean, there still is, I guess. Like you have to wait for it or ask for one, but it all of a sudden was like you were kind of playing second fiddle of like, we're gonna shoot this, and we're gonna light it up, and there's gonna be work lights here and here and here because we're standing here with a depth lens, and it was like, all of a sudden you're limited to, you have these orange glowing crappy lights, and you have and so that was kind of like, oh man, I don't know, like I got really lucky working with TJ and Dwayne and Ryan Hall and all those Calgary guys that were just like they worked for it, and they were super unique in the stuff.
Kowalczyk showed me those spots, like because they're not that far from his house, like all those iconic like
that TJ, like that thing was like we're just driving by one day, you know, and we're like, oh man, that thing looks savage, and it was like. They were the ones who, if you look at any of those guys' parts, the number of nights that we spent just driving around Calgary, TJ was the gang leader in that one pretty much. He was like, I don't know how they found the spots, but there was always stuff there.
What a boss.
So much stuff.
The dude is a boss.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just such a good guy.
Yeah.
And that was it. It was like those guys, and that was also my crew, right? Like I was out there doing all that stuff, and that's when I got introduced to like Craven. First time I went to shoot Craven, he was like bomb dropping off a school in Calgary. You know, his mom came. Like it was that kind of thing, right? Like,
yeah, man, that's awesome.
So that era of being able to shoot and coming up, like knowing who Dano was and knowing Gallup, and man, like looking up to those guys of just like, look what
were those guys starting to duck out by that time, like 06, 07 or something?
I don't know specifically when. I think all those guys were pretty into it. Like when I went to do the intern stuff with Dano, he was, I don't know what he had done prior. Like, but I think that was just like the end of when everything, you know, he had taken a couple years off, like the forum and whatever else. Those guys to me were always like, they were always shooting.
Yeah.
Like Surface, you know, always shooting. Like there was these guys that you were just like, they were the pedestal. Like you look at any snowboard magazine and it was filled with those, you know, those shots. You knew it was,
they had covers, they had spreads, they had all the things. Yeah.
So yeah, I think I was really lucky because having the ability to do the snowcat work and create that work, but also do photography on the side. I never thought of it as being like, I can't do this because I got to do this. It was always like it just worked to do them.
Yeah.
And when it got to the point where I guess I had tapped out of my bandwidth for wanting to deal with some of the resort end of things, like for the day-to-days. Like I said, that kind of like my escape from that and seeing how it was treated in the RCR world of like, we're not going to do jumps anymore because they're dangerous.
Right.
We're going to leave the industry. And it was like, it was a joke. We had proven that it wasn't that, and they have their own story about the whole thing of why they did it, and I've been through that a few times. And I, even when we went back to the Kootenays there a year ago and like talked to the manager, and this is what I was told and why, and from their perspective, a lot of things didn't make, like, why they did it. What I was told was the year they did that was when there was a guy that got paralyzed at Crystal Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
He was a black diamond skier, went into the park, it was marked with black diamond, and overshot a jump and broke his back and had to get paid out. And,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the same year, the same thing happened on Blackcomb.
Well,
and the weirdest thing about it for us was we had already been using the Burton learn to ride thing. So we weren't marking jumps with black diamonds or whatever.
Yeah.
But the guy who ran RCR, from what I was told years later, this is all in the last few years I've been told, he was kind of like, I don't want to be sued and I don't want to be so the easiest way was like, we're going to lead the industry by not building jumps. And then coming out of that, going for a meeting with the manager that was in place when we went to the Kootenays a couple of years ago there, and I started that petition to come on guys, start building parks again.
Yes.
Was that particular manager said, they had been employed by RCR at the head office for years and were told that this is why we don't do it, this is why. But as a sideline to anyone who had an RCR pass, Stoneham was still RCR, and they never stopped building jumps, and they never stopped building pipes. Right. But everyone out in the West was like, RCR doesn't build this. So it was a really weird thing. And they told me it was an insurance thing, whatever. And in my conversations with that, they admitted to me, they called the insurance company up and said, this is why, is that true? And the insurance guy was like, well, this isn't rocket science. Everyone's still doing parks. Yeah. You just have to write it into your coverage. It doesn't change the price you're paying for your insurance. So this whole time, this person who was in charge of the, safety and whatever with this resort company who keeps telling everyone it's because of leading the industry, which, 20 years ago, everyone was like, this is crap. And 20 years from then is now, and they're still not doing it. And now they're just like, you know how much money we saved? We don't have to. And it's money. It's kind of like things have changed to the point where everyone's still doing it and you're still holding on to this thing. And it's similar to the mini pipe stuff or pipe stuff. It's like you have the ability to offer what every single, almost every resort in the world for 20, 30 years has done. And at some point, you're going to have to put your tail between your legs and understand that press release that you put out in 2005 about leading the industry became a laughingstock and no one followed you. Yeah. And maybe you should rethink your policies. Because this whole world of kids, maybe it isn't just the pipes either. It's this whole world of kids has handrail parks. Sure. And they have handrail parks, which... They got handrail rope parks. Handrail parks were what caused most of the injuries in any park. Right. But it's you're really going to do all these handrail parks where you have guys who are passionate about park stuff and they want to make things better. But
I got a t-shirt, listen to groomers or whatever. When Tyler Nickel was on the show, and he goes all the way back to his childhood. He said, the resort is losing customers. Yeah. And he did a petition around Whitehorse or wherever
he was at,
as a school kid. Yeah. Would you go to the ski resort if it had a park? Yes.
Hike
yes.
Park
Yes.
Even, just
yeah. And he's gone on to build hike parks and stuff now. But it's you've forgotten that you're going out of business with the skiing model. Snowboarding tripled your. I was at Cypress yesterday, and the lineups. Not yesterday, but the day before at night. Yeah. Were
for the park stuff.
Just for everything. Just people up there. But why are people up there? People are up there because it's vibrant, it's exciting, because snowboarders
it's the community.
Are
it's
up
the same
there
as the
doing
same
the
reason
community.
We did everyone it's an outdoor activity, it's great. You get all your thing. But when you consider that park model, you don't need to have the massive jump. You don't need any of that stuff. But when you consider that does, when all of a sudden you have this, it creates this vibe. You've got music playing, or you've got a group
it's
of
cool.
People.
It's a cool thing, a cool activity to do. That's what,
and kids love it.
That's what
it gives them. Something
and old
to look
people
forward to,
love it too.
Yeah, you get to watch all this.
When we were in China, we rode the chairlift with people in their 70s, a couple of them, And everyone that we asked, we're like, why did you choose snowboarding? They said, because it's cool. Like, it's just like, so you're actually shooting yourself in the foot if you're softening. Like, people go up there to take risk.
Yeah.
They want to go green runs to blue runs to black diamonds.
Yeah.
What else is there? Oh, jump in the air. All of a sudden, a green run with a jump in it is this huge challenge. And they're going home saying, like, I went off a jump.
Yeah.
Like,
and every kid, it's
yeah.
You can look back through. It doesn't have to be skiing. It doesn't have to be snowboarding. It doesn't have to have anything to do with any snow in general.
Right.
If you look back to what kids did when they were like any kids from way back.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do as a kid? You want to go outside and play. Oh, okay, what are you going to do? You're going to hit a ball. You're going to do these things.
Sure.
But as a kid, when you're just out with your buddies, all of a sudden you're going to go climb a tree.
Climb
what are you
a
going to do?
tree.
Oh, I'm going to jump off this.
Run down a hill.
You're going to jump off the bridge into the water.
Yeah.
You're going to jump off this thing into this. That's what you want to do. It's like that adrenaline rush of getting in the air, whether it's on a bike, whether it's on a skateboard. Doesn't matter what it is. Jumping off a cliff into the water in the lake. Like it seems like it's a natural thing that people are like, I can create this. Super pumped. So like you know it, I know it. We've seen it happen. We saw the boom through the 90s. We've seen it kind of deteriorate. Now we're back where it's like all of us old heads are getting to be like, man, I hurt too much to ride small pipes and crash.
Sure.
But man, it'd be really fun to have that mini pipe up all season.
Oh,
and
totally.
I get that it sucks to try to maintain it when it snows, but just don't maintain it when it snows.
Yeah.
Go back in after the storm stops and put a cat in there and spend a couple hours and make it rideable.
The problem is that the industry didn't the snow resort industry didn't know that you don't have to build the biggest thing. Like, the biggest thing can be for those big events. You could build the medium thing the whole way through.
Yeah.
If
I
you
think
just
that
build
was
the
part of
medium thing.
that was part of the downfall of how quick everything went, was that anyone that was in a position of like what I was doing or anyone that came through that whole boom of the parks and how much money was being pumped in, it was also learning of what you could do and what you could get away with, and the industry wanted more and more. Like, you look at what Super Parks did for years, is like
Totally.
For years when you saw what Super Park did, no one else had that. But at some point there was a breakover where all of a sudden all the crews, like all the boys, were coming from other places to build. We were all friends. But it wasn't like we were building stuff at Super Park that wasn't kind of already built.
Right.
There's maybe a next step. Like, whether it was like the size of the jump or like the jump that was over the big pipe looking thing, or there was definitely some consequential stuff.
Yeah.
But in general, it was like, we're all here and we're being supported to build this giant hip because it's going to look great in photos. Right. And it might be bigger than anything at the hill, but the jumps themselves and the quarter pipes and for the most part, any of the bigger hills had stuff that was pretty close to that.
Chad Otterstrom,
and if it wasn't
hitting 100-foot park jump at his local resort, like with no cameras, no nothing, that was his warm up.
That was kind of it, right? I think that was part of that, our generation of going through, having younger guys that finally started getting into the cats, spending the time to build the stuff and how to do it safely, and having that open window, and not so much thinking like we all came through it with like, man, it's going to bring people to take photos, it's going to do this.
Right.
And from a resort into things, it takes a while to realize that, like the biggest features in the park, which cost the most amount of money, are the ones that the least amount of people are hitting.
That's the truth.
And when you're fired up in that, like, that wasn't anything that we thought of I didn't till the last few years. Right. When I was like, man, this is like, it's a lot of work to maintain these big jumps, and it's a lot of, and then you're like, it's still, all that cat time's got to be paid for, and there's all this stuff's got to be, and like, you sit in a park and you watch, 200 people go through and 160 of them go down the little line and the medium line.
Yeah, it's
and then, there's 40 dudes who hit the big line. And it's a little different in like somewhere like Whistler, where, man, there's like such a high level of phenomenally talented athletes. And
Whistler's an anomaly for sure.
So you will definitely have more people going down the big line, but even then, when you watch, it's like, what gets sessioned the most?
The lessons are so long to learn. That's what it is, right? Like, so you have a great park director like Andy Boniface at Seymour, right?
Yeah.
And it's so subtle what
I
he's
worked
doing.
for him for a little while.
Yeah, it seems like to management there, it just seems like, okay, well, we got this guy. Everybody seems to like him. No big deal.
Yeah.
But then as he leaves, it takes, quite a few years
The new guy.
for the mountain just to realize, oh, there's a difference now. Like the new guy isn't doing what he was doing before. Tyler made some great parks at Seymour, 2010, 2011.
Yeah.
And he's similar to you. He's working at Seymour. He's working at Cypress. He's working at Grouse. He's
everywhere.
He's going out to Manning to do a little park build there because they need it.
I think I met him. I'm trying to talk to him. We had a little conversation. I was trying to think if he came on the year they did the Triple Crown at Seymour.
I think they did.
They brought me
on
on as a consultant, like Frank did anyway.
Sure.
So I was at Seymour for like a month and a half or 2 months or something.
Yeah.
And I think I met Tyler it was his first year that he would come and
Sure.
drive.
Sure.
But anyway, it was like it was such a small world too back then, right? It's like
Well, the park builders and the groomers, you mentioned it, like interior grooming, like when you're going down something super steep and you're just, even at Whistler, when I'm hitting Whistler groomers and I'm not worried about like a weird ridge, there's no,
you're
like,
not going to buckle your legs or your knee or...
Yeah, because that's dangerous. When there's like a crappy ridge or like some chunks are left somewhere or whatever, most dangerous shit in the world.
Yeah.
But, then you take that into the level of park where you're coming into a takeoff. And if you've got a great groomer, you have a great park, you have a great experience. There's nothing like it. It's so important. But like Tyler said, they're not paying those guys like it's an important job.
No. And
those are your throwaway guys.
I don't know if it's even changed now.
I don't think it has.
One of the guys that I've worked with over the years, he became the ops manager at Pano.
Mm-hmm.
Really good machine operator, super smart guy, came through it, great park guy, and kind of like, I think he's the first one who told me like he had bumped his wages higher than what had generally been to prove the fact that it was, when you have guys who've run the machines that long, they know how to efficiently run the machines.
Yeah.
And they know what they're doing is like, so you pay them a little more so that they're a valued commodity because they're going to get 30% more done every night than the guys who are not as experienced. And they're going to be, there's going to be half of the maintenance cost on those machines because they know how to run them.
You're making more money.
If you're going to pay a guy $5 an hour extra or $10 an hour extra because he's got 15 or 20, whatever it is, years, or has proven that he's a phenomenal operator, the long run of that is like, all it takes is one, sideline screw up and you're out. Like nothing on a snowcat's cheap.
No,
so
obviously.
If you back into something or you tear up something or you hit a building or you rip a blade off or you smash a window,
God forbid you hit a customer or something.
Well, and
like,
Jesus. That's pretty like bad worst case scenario there.
Yeah.
But just that cost on paper, like sure at the end of the year they're gonna be like, okay, our snowcat like repairs were this much and but like to be able to pull it back of like, well, here's what the new guys cost for repairs.
Yeah.
And these machines we only let get run by the guys who have been running the machines. So like being able to track that now, I think with all their stuff, like the GPS locators and all like, so it's way more trackable than anything used to be. But from what I've been told is it's like, it's a really noticeable, increase in productivity, increase in, but like from a standpoint of the hills, you think of how many people they probably spit through. Like I don't know how many people stay for years and years and years, and the ones that do, the wages are
so
job, right?
they're so low that you have to love your job. But that's not the way it should be like when I look at how local mountains are running right now, they're trying to play catch up with this COVID level attendance. Right? Like they've got lift lines through the roof. They haven't figured out like, oh shit, we could have half the people, double the price of the passes, exclude so many people, but just like have a better user experience and have the same amount of money.
Yeah.
But then also same amount of money, you should be trying to get that user experience up here.
So they want to come
now.
Back.
Yeah.
I heard somebody say it's like the sales motto of it, like whatever, the Walmart, whatever, but
sure,
they're like, if you create something that's priced so well, which, you know, you look at what those passes cost now, it's like for a season's pass.
Yeah.
It's pretty phenomenal.
It's insane.
When you look at what the day price is.
Compared to day price, it doesn't
and they're
make any
like,
sense.
if you take that into account and you're like, we're going to fire this out to the world so that everyone that wants to try to do it can do it and be like, well, I was going to buy 5 days anyway, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
But they put so many people on the mountain that, you know, those people this morning, like I showed up at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
First up, I got my 4 laps in. It was awesome. But coming down after the 4th lap to the chair and seeing that I was going to be an hour in line when we pretty much just rode on the first 4. But those people who don't get up that often have now become accustomed to like, well, we're going to show up and it's going to take us 45 minutes to get on at Creekside. And then we're going to get to Red Share and it's going to take 45 minutes to get Red.
Fucked.
So if you think about that, the people who don't come that often might go for a couple runs. And then they're going to be like, you know, maybe it's going to die down. So let's go into the lodge and wait this out. And they'll go in and buy the $30 burger.
Yeah.
Thinking that it's going to be better. And then they're going to pull out after they've just went and spent a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
And come out and have the same lineups. Because it really isn't getting any less anymore.
No.
And it's like, that seems to be the motto of they have this like, well, if they bought the pass, they can't complain because they didn't pay as much. And if they bought day tickets, well, they're going to buy a pass next year because they just, you know what I mean?
Because it's
like,
such a bad experience
they went into the lodge and spent $50 a head for a piece of pizza, and, you know. And,
yeah, man. It's gone nuts. It's gone nuts.
My youngest there, he broke his leg, and we had a friend that wanted to babysit, and we were leaving him there last weekend. He was at Roundhouse, and he's like, can I get some fries and, you know, chicken strips?
Yeah.
And for one, it took 30 minutes to get them to begin with. And I'm like, I grabbed the strip basket from the guy, and shit, you know what, man? Like, 2 of the 3 chicken strips were as big as my pinky.
Oh,
it was battered. And like one of them kind of was a strip, but it was like my pinky with a chicken nugget on the end.
Gross.
And I was like, hey, is this normal? And like, I didn't want to be the guy, but I was like, is this normal? And the guy working behind the deep griller was like, that's what you get. And there was no hint that he was at all disappointed. Like,
no,
I watched him reach into the thing and throw the 3, and I was like, holy crap, you know. In 20 minutes in line, I'm going to pay, and my wife Jamie's like, she's like, what's going on? I'm like, oh, it's busy. And then she saw it, she's like, is that what you get? I'm like, yeah, I don't know. And she ended up like, hey, and the girl that was doing the checkout was like, well, did you say anything to the kitchen? And I was like, yeah, I asked, and he kind of said, well, that's what you get. And she's like, oh. And she ended up going back and like grabbed 3 more, but the 3 nuggets she put in were the same. It was
same
just 3 more of the same. It was like the end
more
of the bag.
Yeah,
like, there was some batter that got deep fried, and that was it.
That's
but
insane.
When I think of that, I'm like, that wasn't the experience that I remember having as
it's
a
a
kid.
death of 1,000 cuts, right? Remember, like, parking was free. There was nowhere you had to pay for parking anywhere that we went.
No.
You didn't have to pay for parking anywhere.
I don't know.
California,
like
nowhere.
In the Kootenays. I don't think you do it still in the Kootenays.
Who knows at this point? I don't know. Yeah, it kind of slowly trickles down to that.
Like even that new app they have for reservations, you know?
Reservations.
It's kind of like, now it's Creekside Underground. You're like, reservations for lot 1. You still can go into 3, but 1 and 2, you have to make reservations.
Isn't that insane?
And it says like cost free, and you're like, okay, is this like next year they're going to implement?
Right.
You're going to have to pay for the only place you can park for, like.
Isn't that it's unbelievable? Yeah,
and
so
then
the parking
there was a big
and
scam over Christmas. You see that?
I didn't see.
Somebody stickered QR codes over all the pay to park QR codes.
Oh wow!
And like scam, it was the full scam.
Oh, like so somebody was
like, oh, pay to park.
They paid $20, $20,
and apparently it took a few days before anyone realized.
And they made a shit ton of money.
Imagine. I mean, I don't know.
I might have to bleep all this out.
Yeah, right.
People are gonna. Yeah, what a great idea. Yeah, totally.
Anyway.
Unfriggin' believable. Yeah, but throughout it all, trying not to succumb to like complaining about it, because when I hear people complaining about it, like it was really a bummer when the first year I did FNRad, I reach out to Keith Wallace and I'm like, so how many days a year do you snowboard? And he says, well, I don't anymore because it's so expensive. I got a family, and like I don't want to go up to some marketing person and say, hey, do you
Is he
know
still in Idaho?
who, yeah, do you know who I think I used to be or whatever? Like, and I was like, wait, but that's not cool that they priced out Keith Wallace. Like, that's so dumb. How have we missed the mark so much? But I watched the machine roll, and it's like the lineup. You could go like, I'm not paying for parking. I'm gonna park down the hill and walk up. Well, there's a whole bunch of people doing that too now. There's no parking there.
It's not just the priced out factor. I think it's also we were really lucky that we
came through. And with Keith, I don't want to misquote him too. It was like, you know how hard it is to ride a resort that you just paid $500 for your family to ride groomers and stand in line.
Yeah.
When you've been in a helicopter with Jake too many times to count. Yeah.
That or even just been at those same resorts before it got COVID busy.
Yeah.
You know, when we used to think it was busy.
And
now you're like, I could go back to those and I would never complain again. But how many years of those never busy? Like, you hear the stories of the guys, like you hear the stories of Ken and Alex and all the guys when they came, where it was like days after a storm riding POW, because there was just nobody. There wasn't the same amount of people.
Yeah, nobody went to. Oh, we haven't cracked Seventh Heaven yet because we've been riding this other side. Yeah. That's pretty sick. Yeah. Look, the rabbit hole of rabbit holes. I keep looking at this Kemper board, and I'm like, is that the one that Chris Savage had a hand in getting to you?
Yes.
And is that David Kemper's signature on the left?
He went and found David. He surprised me, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How amazing is that?
It was pretty ridiculous.
That's completely ridiculous.
Crazy story, crazy everything, crazy. Yeah. Totally awesome.
What a beautiful board. So that's a handmade.
Yep. And I actually have the bindings.
The bindings
or something? He handmade the bindings for it, which I have as well.
Handmade. And then there's inserts in it. Is that for real?
Yeah, inserts in it. Weird fins at the front. Yeah, I mean, you can pull this in.
It's what, an 84 or something?
I think this probably would have been, what did I think it was? 85?
85. Right.
I think 85. No, wait. No. Maybe it was 86.
Could even be 86.
Remember the original Kempers were like the wood top and it just said Kemper.
Yes.
With like that weird blocky letter.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah. Pretty amazing. Like P-Tex base.
You've heard this story probably from Ernie DeLoss. It's worth saying again just because it's such a good story. The transition from the horizontal lamb skateboard style to the ski style, like during that time Ernie got hired by Powell Peralta.
Yeah, well one of my rabbit holes of the collecting world too was like one of the last jobs that I did writing and taking photos was going to interview Chuck and Ernie.
Sick.
Because they were going to reboot Barfoot, right? And I'd always been a Barfoot. Like, I kind of have a soft spot for Barfoot.
I think a lot of people do. Yeah. A lot of people do.
So I got to go hang out with him and Chuck at their factory there.
Sick.
And like, they talked me through all that stuff. And like, Ernie's telling me like, oh yeah, left Snow Tech, came out, going to do this, set up the whole factory, was going to have Powell snowboards. And then they just pulled the pin on it before it launched because they figured out where it was going to be. And I was like, can you imagine how that would have changed?
I feel like this is what he told me. He's going to the meeting to present the boards to Stacy and George. George had been the lead on it. Yeah. Had said, like, we're going to do this. Tony's a snowboarder. Cab's a snowboarder. Lance is a snowboarder. Like, this is a no-brainer. Yeah. We can take over this whole industry.
And they would have.
And
imagine their distribution.
Oh, yeah. And so Ernie's gone from, the skateboard laminate style to like a vertically laminated board with sidewalls. Yeah, he's bringing it in, and Stacy takes one look at it and goes, "What the fuck is this?" Like, he just doesn't understand it. He's like, "We don't make this." No, George, and he just says no, like just sight unseen, like no, like it's like here's the first. Like Stacy being like, "Hey, what about Powell Peralta snowboards?" And he just goes, "No." And then Ernie's like,
and I think at that point, if I remember correctly, Ernie told me they were set up. Like
they were set. He had made it. He had made the first boards.
I was like, "What do you mean?" And I think what he told me was that they were kind of like on the cusp of of the Vision streetwear thing. Like there was something tied into outerwear and stuff.
Sure.
And they decided like snowboarding wasn't gonna go. And that they were gonna just do the outerwear. And I was like, they set up manufacturing and then just were like,
isn't that insane? Well, we're watching history repeat itself, in my opinion, with the 32 Boots now is making boards and bindings and all these things. And I'm like, Airwalk, just look at Airwalk. Airwalk could be the number one snowboard boot brand still to this day.
It's funny.
They had everybody on the team. They had the Burton guys on their team.
Yeah, they
don't
definitely
diversify. So maybe Stacy was right.
Could have been.
But
when I heard that story, I was blown away because
Me too.
coming from, I mean, you did the same. Coming from that generation of how big, like, I watched that boom of like the Animal Chin, the search, like that company at that time with everything they had and the athletes they had and the like I said, the distribution, the shops, whatever. If they decided that they were gonna do snowboarding and actually like did it, especially with what Ernie did, like how good he is at
totally.
It was like they would have destroyed.
They would have destroyed.
Destroyed.
Would have been a different place. We'd live in a different world.
It would be completely different. But anyway. Yeah, it's interesting to hear those sidelines.
What's the first board that you have in your collection? Like what was the first board? I guess it's that one that you already said, the Elite.
The Performer.
The Performer.
Red Performer.
Red Performer.
84.
Yeah. And you're just
that wasn't even
cool.
Well, actually, no, I shouldn't say that. I think the first board I collected would have probably been the one where I remember my brain being like, I should get that. I was at Lake Louise. It was in the spring. They always do retro days, whatever.
Yes.
So I had already, as I was building the parks for RCR, I had always end up back at main office, which is like Calgary downtown, and there was a bunch of pawn shops on that street.
Huh.
So whenever I ended up in Calgary, I would walk the pawn shops. More than anything, because I always thought the old graphics, like, we grew up through all these, like there was like always like neon or whatever.
Yeah.
I just liked the old board graphics and I thought it was cool. And I'd always go look because it would be like pawn shops, $20, like all these older boards no one wanted anymore.
Whatever. Yeah.
And I remember, kind of always seeing random stuff, but I would grab it not as anything more than just like, I'm going to hang that up at our house in Banff or whatever. It was just like something different.
Yeah.
And then I just kept, I was like, I get another one. And they didn't, at that time, I didn't have that many, let's say, but it got out of hand for a while anyways, but it was easy. You could find them so easy, right? No one was collecting snowboards. It was just, I found them and then it was like, hey, Bob's got 10 in his basement. And it was just like, I organically found them once people knew I wanted to, and with no indication of later thinking I had this idea of this museum and stuff. It was just more like, I like old boards. I like the history. I like hearing the stories from Chuck and from Ernie. And like, I like to be able to collect. I was like, I'm going to collect that because I like to take photos of it and write about these things. Yeah, and that's how it started.
Cool.
And I think the one where I remember specifically, like, I'm going to start figuring out how to get more of these things was I'm walking at Lake Louise and it's Gorby Day. And this girl walks by me with this blue wooden Burton, and just like neon stuff and walking through and obviously had not been riding it, just was like dressed up for the party. And I was like, what is that? Like I hadn't seen this particular model. And I remember just being like, what, hey, whose is that? And, oh, it's a friend of mine that's been in their garage. I just have a thing. And I was like, do you think they'd sell it? Like, what is that? And she's like, I don't know. I'm sure they would. Like, they said it's just
sitting there.
Like no value at all.
Yeah.
Just like it was a prop. And I remember, a couple weeks later, I think she'd given me the number of the guy or something. And I'd called and nothing had happened. And at that point, there was no Facebook Marketplace. It was like the buy, remember buy and sell? Like
I do.
The paper?
I do.
And I remember I'd always thumb through the paper and it'd be like old snowboard or like old, wall hang. And I'd find stuff. Well, I got a hold of this person and they were like, yeah, I don't want that anymore. You like, what do you want? Like, what do you want to give me for it? Like $50, $80. And I remember just being like, at the time, that was, to me, that was actually quite a bit of money. Like I wasn't like bankrolling building parks, and I was living great though. Like,
sure.
But I was like, oh, I think $80. Like, oh, yeah, whatever. It's cool. I'll hang that one up. And it was a powder gun, my Burton powder gun experimental.
Oh, nice.
And it was bought in Calgary. Bought it, it was like
wild.
And I don't know if it was freewheeling, right? Anyway,
sure.
And that was the thing. It was like I all of a sudden started looking more and seeing more, and every one of these boards that I was finding through other people seemed to have a story to, like, it was cut down, it had the stickers, it had whatever.
Yeah.
And that part of it was like, it all of a sudden became this thing where I was like, man, what is it? Like, what's up with this count? And finding out about, the storms and the outlands and all the people and the tree lines. And it's like, all of a sudden, it wasn't just the board, which is like the hunt from my era of, like, the brushy or the Palmer boards. And they're awesome. And those graphics blow me away.
Totally.
But this small companies and these things where it was like, oh, what? Where is that from?
Yeah,
like,
this tree line.
Oh,
right.
And that's like, like Bob was one of the, like, OG guys with the snowboard shop. He's like buddies with Ken, and like he built them in Kelowna.
That's so
and
wild.
If you look at it, it's like,
it's got a profile on it.
It's got a profile on it because the boards they had at the time were like the Sims and the Barfoots that had the profile in the base, right? They're like,
so sick. So, that one's in killer shape.
Yeah, this is
never
cracking. It's got some cracking in it and stuff. No, it's never been mounted.
That would put a Palser pad on that thing and rock it.
They used to get like top sheet material from, like, all of them are a little bit different.
Yeah.
They didn't screen all of them. Some of them are like got weird patterns. Because the best thing to hold fiberglass, he told me, was like fabric.
Oh,
so they would go to like Fabricland or something, and like
right.
they figured that was the only way they could get the stuff to stick.
That's amazing.
But yeah, so
the stories. So I'm on a similar path here where I wanted to listen to snowboard podcast, and I just thought, okay, well, logically, if I start at the beginning, it'll be old guys. They'll be more willing to talk.
Yeah.
So I called Dimitri and Sherman in the first week.
Yeah.
Got them both on the phone.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. And that just, and the Dimitri thing was because Lucas Huffman did that Snowcrafters
the Snowcrafters,
thing. I'd just seen it and I was like, oh, here's this kind of, what a neat thing. This is a guy
we should pull out one of that. Those are my, like, it's the bar. I mean, I love all snowboard. Like, it's crazy how I could, like I said, you can see this. I'm going to go rabbit holing in every direction.
Right. But it's worth it.
The winter stick thing, for me, growing up in the Kootenays and never have seen one.
Right.
Until I saw one at Freewheeling in Calgary that was hanging up, and I was like, what is that? And then you start looking into it. It's like, when I've sat and been able to show people, like, here, and again, no disrespect to anyone that was building boards at the time. Like, it's all done what it's done for all of us.
Yeah.
But there's so many people that how did snowboarding start? And it's like the Wikipedia page tells you that it was, Tom Sims, Jake Burton, and Sherman Poppin. And you're like,
and the real reason is this for that. I've been thinking about it a lot. It's a story that's really easy to tell because Sherman bolts the skis together.
Yeah.
And then he starts this world championship thing or like a contest. And Jake shows up. So the person who invented this storyline is whoever looked at Jake and heard people saying, like, oh, his board is modified. I don't want to compete against him. Whoever was like, we're going to make another modified category for this guy.
Yeah.
They set that history story in motion.
Yeah.
Because Jake didn't win. He wouldn't have won. I've seen the times. He would have got third.
Yeah.
They should had they let him compete on his modified board against everybody else.
Would have just been another guy.
That goes away.
Yeah.
And then if Tom hadn't freaked out about Jake kind of getting ahead, he's like, no, I've been thinking about snowboarding and doing this for long. No. And like the boards that Jake had weren't ahead of what Tom was going to do.
No,
he's like, oh, your shit's garbage, man. I invented this shit in 1963. Had he not done that thing, then it's not Sherman, Jake, Tom. It's someone else would have.
Yeah.
It would be somewhere else. It might be in Quebec. It might be in.
Well,
it might be the Wicklin boards.
The thing that gets me is that I mean, there's truth to all of it, and we all know that,
right?
But it's the inability. This is my reading on it, especially with this whole tide of like now vintage boards and all these people everywhere.
Yes,
is like, at what point did it become the USA invented snowboarding?
Right.
And like I said, no disrespect to any of the people that were the ones who gave this sport what it is. But there was people that were riding sideways on boards anywhere there was snow.
Anywhere there was snow.
And when you look at that and you start looking into it, it's like, man, have you seen how many small brands that popped up in the 70s and 80s that were in Europe? And there's guys that have been, Moss has been making boards in Japan since 1970-ish something. You know, so you're like, there's more to this than just the story that Wikipedia.
That's the best
you,
thing,
you know?
is that it's the fabric. Wikipedia picked up on the trans world and snowboarder narrative, which was just convenient.
Yep.
It was a convenient thing to say because people would say, where did it come from?
I think the reality is like nothing taken away from the fact that the snurfer in general, Sherman's invention, brought the idea of sliding sideways on a board to more people than had ever seen it.
Yeah, a million people. Right.
And there's nothing to deny.
And Coleco too, Coleco, once you start talking about that, then the Coleco actually might be a little bit even more influential because it was cheaper and it was more broadly distributed. Yeah. So
so my thing with the whole history is like, that's where my stories of, as you start hearing these things, I'm like, man, this is it to me. That feeds my hyper focused brain. I dive into these things where I'm like, I want to know who the artists were for the graphics. I want to know where, you know, and then taking in those stories. I think that's why I've been so focused on making sure this museum thing happens, is because I'm like, I know that everyone isn't into it as I am.
Right.
But we're in this sport that we got to see do all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And unlike other stuff, have a lot of ties to it through all the people that did it, and a lot of them are still here.
Yep.
And at some point it becomes somebody else's story, where it's like, you know, the Jakes and the Toms pass, and it's always someone else's story about the story.
That's right.
Instead of like what you're doing, like sitting down with those guys and being like, hey, what happened? And then you start talking and other things pop up where you're like, whoa, rewind. Who's that? What did they do?
It becomes this fabric of this quilt.
Every story, I'm always like, what amazing characters.
The fact that Mike, this is my absolute favorite moment of FNRad, I'm calling it now, is that Mike Olson sitting across from me, and I go, well, what's the first thing you go sideways on? And he goes, actually, I haven't thought about this since I was a kid. It was like a piece of linoleum on a wet hill. You know, he's like, we used to go to the flooring store, take the linoleum scraps out of the garbage can, hope that it would slide down the hill, and they would wear out, and you'd go get another one. As Makes a sense. 6-year-old or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah, same kind of thing. It's not a sled; it's a thing.
It's nothing. And you go, wow, that. Okay, I see how that moment of your life led to this, where you're inventing an 8-meter side cut against all odds, when there's teams of engineers who are going, 11 meters is as small as you can go. Yeah. You're like,
why? Because that's what we did with skiing. Right. But that's the thing, is it's like there is these kind of stories that spiral into more stories that. And so when I'm like, oh, people are like, what do you want to do this? You just want to hoard boards. I'm like, it is beyond the boards. No, the boards are amazing. Right. What I love is the story that comes along with it.
No, the board hoarder is Dennis Nazari. I'll call you out right here on mic, Dennis. You've got too many boards. You've got shipping containers full of boards. I asked him if I could get the ketchup or the Lucky Charms Kemper. Yeah. He goes, yeah, I got a dozen of them. Yeah. And I'm like, it's for Jamie Silter. He goes, then it's $1,000 US. Because he hates the guy, which is fine. Which is fine. Well, he's a character, but that's a board hoarder. That is not.
He's got a lot. I mean, and he has some amazing. He's
got
boards,
history pieces, big time.
And there are people that have those, and actually, fortunately, he has the shop. He has the space to show some of them.
Yep.
Which is also amazing.
Which is super sick.
You know. But I think the disconnect of that versus somewhere like what Trent's doing with the Colorado Museum of like,
it's incredible.
There is a disconnect with, here's a wall full of boards and this is when they were made, and that the story ends there.
Right.
I have all of them.
Right.
Whereas,
right.
you know, part of this journey for me has been connecting with these older photographers and people who are taking videos and people who were those guys, because you need more than just a board on the wall. It's like, you want to know the story of who did the graphic. You want to know of where it was made.
Yeah.
How did they get involved? Where did they ride? Like, that stuff is what interweaves this history of the sport, of like, of why it's so dynamic, of why it's tied to the music and the sculpture. Like, there's so much stuff. Right?
Did you see the Going Off podcast post of Chris Pappas dropping Corbett's?
Yeah.
I was like, thank you. I mean, he was my coach at Windell's in 90.
Crazy.
He's on a board that's like no high backs, and he drops Corbett's. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
What
Two
a
screws,
legend.
right? 2 screws and some bent plastic.
What a legend.
Fast deck buckles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's a Colorado guy, so traveling to Wyoming and showing up, in Wyoming and dropping Corbett's. What a monster! Yeah, it's so dope. I love that stuff.
But that's it. Is like, and think of like who had been talking about that or had the photo or whatever of it until that stuff came up. And Trent's talking about it. And like having that archived and the people that have that want to save it. That's the big thing. Is it's like,
when I saw his
you need
archive,
to keep doing these things.
I asked him if he really thought that Sim's 1963 board was genuine, and he said yes, and I said it's not. It's not.
I think I talked to you about that. I had quite a few years ago, and it was, I don't know who it was. I wish I remembered who it was, and it was predated me talking to Ernie and Chuck, so it couldn't have been them. But somebody was like, listen, that board isn't legit. There was hardware on the board that wasn't legit. The way it was built wasn't legit. And I was like, oh, that's really crazy to come across as being. And then I think you...
So for me, what happened was I handled
somebody
it.
had told you, right?
I handled it.
Yeah.
And I looked at it and I'm like, look, I know what a poser board looked like in the 80s. Right? You and I are skateboarding somewhere. You go to somebody's place and they're like, yeah, I can do rail slides. And all the lines are like wrong. Somebody did that. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, someone did that to this.
Yeah.
Like, what are those marks from?
Yeah.
And I showed Trent. I'm like, look, that's like screwdriver marks.
You interviewed somebody who told you, remember?
Dave Weaver.
Because I think we talked about it.
Dave the Weave.
When I heard
Weaver.
him confirm it, I was like,
Dave the Weave Weaver.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Dave. Yeah,
Thanks, Dave.
He was in the factory when that happened, and
when it was made,
and he's saying, he's like scratching it up to make it look used. Because for me, I'm like, look, if some kid used this, if some neighborhood of kids used this
or tried to
use it, the wear would be like a skimboard on the edges of both sides.
Where the metal was bent on the...
Yeah. And it's not, there's no wear there.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is a fake.
But like you said, it's like, it was a recreation.
So he could have said it was a recreation, which is fine. And Trent's got some serious, like, he's collected some serious information that, for sure, Tom was riding skateboard style stuff down hills when he was in junior high.
Right.
A bunch of them
which makes sense. Like it's you can't hide. Like there's always going to be somebody or something that saw something, but it's that claim of, like I said, that's the story of like the story was this was this and this was this, or the story, the Wickland stuff. And I'm not saying like that, not saying that like it wasn't happening. I'm like, those are the things where it's just like,
well, the interesting thing about the history of snowboarding, the Wikipedia one is Tom claimed to invent snowboarding. Jake claimed to not have invented snowboarding, and he really claimed that Tom Sims did not invent snowboarding. That was really his own claim. So some people would put the claim that Jake invented it on Jake, and he never took that claim.
Yeah, he never took ownership of it.
No, but he really was adamant that Jake didn't.
Well, and that's probably, when you think about it as what their rivalry was
that Tom didn't. Tom didn't. Right.
I'm like, I can only speculate on the fact that it's like, it wasn't probably so much that the claim was made. It was like, go ahead and claim, but like there were competing against each other.
Yes.
I don't want to admit, and I'm not going to say he did because, you know, at that point, they're like the two biggest.
That's right. Right. Yeah. And I mean, Sims was just trouncing him for like 4 or 5 years there before Craig leaves. Like there is a legitimate claim to be made.
Pause for a second.
Yeah.
So these are the things where, you know, and you could put this where you want or see it where it is, but so
put it behind
so these are the kind of things where, as I've gotten deep into this whole thing of like why it's, I feel like it's important to like have these extra stories told, is like, should I go get the similar? Here, I'll go grab one more just so it's like, again, it's not something to, but like, okay. So here's boards.
What the hell is this fin thing?
So the fin.
I don't understand it.
So, it's spring steel here.
Yeah.
Right. What the fin is actually it's a fin. It's a skeg, but it's also a brake. So if you look at how this works, you had a leash that was attached to this.
Yeah.
Right. See the spring right there.
Yeah.
See the spring steel here.
Yeah.
When you fell off your board, your leash would go whoop and pull this, and the spring steel that sat underneath that skeg would go bonk, so your board wouldn't keep running down the hill.
Are you kidding me?
No. So a lot of people thought that this was just for tracking, like it was like a boat keel.
Sure.
But if you look, this one doesn't have it. This one doesn't have it in. But if you look at that, you see the spring steel there?
Yeah, and then this.
And then there's a little pull tab. And this would go along the leash. It would be on your leg with the leash. Yeah. You fell off, you would pull it, and the spring.
And so that goes down and just stops it.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So it's a brake.
The dude's a maniac.
So when I look at like the timelines and history of what was doing, who was doing what, I look at like these two boards, and you're like, okay, here's a board that was made 1976.
76.
And a board that was made in I think that was in 1980 or 79 around. But when you look at these two, and then compare it to, I don't have one. Here, put it here. There's a 1980 Burton. You know, there's a 1981 Burton. It's a wooden board with a rope on it.
It's a snurfer. It's a snurf board.
4 years before those, and like Barfoot hat is this, but I'm like, this guy was building, like Dimitri was building.
Is this exactly that board from the poster?
No, this is my other one. I have this one's older. This is one of this one's a.
Well, I mean, like two over. It looks like the exact
this one is,
one.
Yeah, that one's the same one.
That is this one.
Yeah,
yeah.
That one. So when you look at that, you're like, okay. And granted, it's completely different things. Like you couldn't go to resort and ride these boards.
That's not what they were designed for.
But when you look at how they were engineered and built, like you look at this, man, it's fiberglass. Like pick it up and feel how heavy it is.
You know what's the craziest thing is that Murray Fraser had distribution on Winter Stick.
Yeah.
In the mid '90s, and so I knew the name.
Yeah.
I knew it had some sort of swallowtail past kind of thing. Yeah. Like I'd been exposed to that or whatever.
Yeah.
But the first time I saw one of these, Scott Surface put up like a bunch of his
when
boards.
He bought his collection.
Yeah, he had a collection that he'd brought to Endeavor at the new Endeavor spot or something.
There was a guy in Portland that sold his collection and Scott bought it.
And then
put it up.
So I am there looking at the thing unsupervised.
Yeah.
And I flexed the thing like I would flex a normal snowboard.
Did he freak out?
Yes, of course he did. And then I was like, because he's like, do you have any idea how much that board is worth? And I was like, I don't know, $100 or something. He's like, God, no. It was the first time that I was exposed to the idea that some of these boards are worth a bunch of money. And I'd actually also flexed the Burton Air, the blue triangle one.
Oh yeah.
Which was also a noodle, and he was like, don't, like you could hear it like cracking,
inside. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's insane how
But these are
difference.
proof that Dimitri was doing something completely different than people would do up until,
Yeah.
the late 80s,
Yeah.
right?
Way. Yeah. Because even
10 years
even
ahead of
after
everybody.
these, as it goes into the 80s and they're still pressing similar shapes or almost identical shapes.
Yeah.
And they had the soft bindings that went on them.
Oh, yeah.
And they went to edges. And
Yeah.
they continued to make boards that were I have like an 86 round tail.
Yeah.
Like this one.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
I have that
yeah.
board that
yeah.
I put a strap on and rode it as a no board out sledding a few years ago, and
it works.
It's phenomenal, and it's
Yeah.
too fast. It was like
It's too fast.
No, I mean,
You
look at the
stand on,
shape.
you stand on the nose and you go fast,
Super fast.
and then you can sink the tail and slow down a bit.
But yeah, they're it's a completely different board. But when I've shown these to people and put them side by side, like when I'm like, here is this board from 9, and here's this piece of wood with a rope, and here's this. Like, tell me who. But it is a completely different thing. There was no one was trying to sell these boards to go ride a resort. It was to ride POW.
And then the Regis Roland offshoot of it, right? How awesome is that?
And that's the other thing is like that's a direct tie to his right. He had the red team boards. So Ted Schubert is he's one of the other directors in the museum project.
Yeah.
He has a crazy collection too.
Yeah, he does.
He has the red board from.
He has that actual board.
Has the red one he got from him a few years
That's priceless.
There's a few of them. There was they made a few red boards for that European thing. So he has that. He has Tom's original silver, like the one that Chantry got rid of there a couple years ago. He's
no way.
So he's part of the whole museum project of one of the directors. So him and myself and Flynn Seddon and
Flynn too.
Yeah, and Dano is involved. I have to get a team of people together to get to make it legit, to get our nonprofit status.
Yeah. I got to get Flynn on the show for sure.
Yeah. Legend. Yeah, he's got some big.
Where is he? He's up at Big White.
Big White. Yeah.
Kelowna. He's been there for a long time.
Yeah. Forever.
Super Park Big White was he did that
build. That was the first Super Park, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been there forever.
That's nuts. So what's your I think I know what it is, but what's your speculation on how they got the dots on the top?
Vacuum form, it was formed in a press. The presses they have, Jorgen Muller, again, one of the guys that's involved in the traders thing, found the cassettes.
Oh, wow.
They used. So I heard stories of them, it was hard for them to get the foam or whatever the layup, the glasswork to into the cassette properly. They'd shift a lot. But it was in, if you looked at, there's a set of those, the original molds they have, and they're in the fiberglass nipply things are actually in the one top sheet. So when they press it, and
so it's just epoxy or something that's in the and
then when it was pressed, it was in.
That's so wild.
Yeah. So these ones are the early ones, and then they changed something, because if you look at the later boards, you can see a lot of the boards that had the clear fiberglass tops have a weird, it almost looks like there's flames into them, some of them, and it's just because the epoxy resin is off colored, because it was all a clear epoxy resin that went through. Whereas these ones, I'm not sure what ABS, how they did the layups differently.
Right.
But,
yeah, talking to Dimitri was wild, because the Lucas documentary basically paints him as someone you can't talk to.
Yeah.
I talked to
well, that's kind of what I've heard too.
Who's the POW surfer guy? Jeremy Jensen.
Yep.
I talked to him, and I was like, he's like, oh yeah. I'm like, hey,
because he did that POW surf winter, he did one of his POW surf.
Did he do a winter stick or something?
He did a winter stick, I forget what he called it, but he did it as a
tribute.
Pay tribute to him.
So I called him and said, what do you think my chances of getting in touch with Dimitri are? He goes, what do you mean? He has probably good. Just call his phone number or whatever. I was like, really? He's like, yeah, I rode with him last week.
Oh, no way.
Dimitri's not really that, he doesn't want to do media stuff.
Okay.
But he's a part of the Utah. There's a bunch of fan out guys like us
right.
and he skis sometimes and he snowboards sometimes.
Huh.
He just has a bitter taste in his mouth about. You know what? I'd have to ask him.
Yeah, right. He doesn't really probably want to.
But
he's one of the guys. He's one of those people
he laughed and had
I would
a good
love
time
to.
talking
I
about
would
it.
love to sit down with, like, same as Ernie and Chuck. Right? Just like,
Yeah.
this story is more than anything of like why it steered the way it did, why it went.
What were the decisions they were making together
Yep.
as a group? What were the decisions that people were like? Because it's so interesting to hear those guys talk about those old, like the 83 Worlds or whatever, and say like, oh, Ken was spinning fives. He should have won. You know what I mean? But he was on the wrong
team
sponsor. And Mike Olson, recognizing that and saying like, oh, we all got shafted.
Right.
It was going to be Sims or Burton, and depending on who runs the thing, right?
Yeah.
Whoever's running the event
is gonna.
At first, it was Tom Sims that won, not just a Sims rider, but Tom is going to win. But when you went to go get the boards, I had mentioned that when Craig left, there was a legitimate Sims claim that, hey, don't go tell Burton how we're making these things. Mm-hmm. But that's not what they sued him for. Brad Dorfman sued Craig Kelly for breach of contract.
Yeah.
And the contract was bullshit.
Right.
It was a lifetime contract to Tom, signed under duress, that Tom
so
said,
that he could go to the event paid.
So it's kind of crazy that, because we call that Jake versus Tom.
Yeah.
When really it's Dorfman versus Craig.
Yeah. Entity versus
entity.
Yeah.
Right. But there was
and there's other stuff too. Like there's a few of the boards floating around too, but one of the stories that Lofo's shared and like I had a conversation with him about is like, oh, you have to find I forget what he told me it was, but I think one of the boards is at Burton, maybe the pink one, but there's something because he was working on a board with Craig or for Craig in Quebec for Sims.
Chantry has it.
Does he have it?
I held it.
And it's Craig's. It's the exact same shape.
Because
I think there's more than like from what I've gotten is that there was a few of them.
Yeah.
But it's a Lofo board. Whether it's got wood side balls or ABS, I'm not too sure. But
ABS, I think.
Apparently it's basically the mystery air, right?
Because it's 88, right? Like it's 89. It's a Sims.
Yeah,
it's the mystery. You could see it. There's something written on it that really made me look at Chantry like, do I trust you?
Right.
It's on the nose, right? That it says
board
for CK by
Yeah.
LF or something on it that you're like.
Because he's had a few boards that he picked, like he said, he picked them up on eBay because he recognized whatever.
Yeah.
But he himself had some boards. Like that's where that Tom's 1500 came from. And
right.
Like there's a few other guys who have like these boards that are,
And Chantry and Bostich and the N-Men and all that history of Sacramento.
Huge.
Wow, those guys are awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, I saw that Craig board. I believe it. Personally, I believe it. I don't think.
Well, there's no reason. There's
no
really
reason
no
to do
reason.
it. Yeah, he's not going to make
not.
a bunch of money from it.
Yeah.
That's not going to.
Well, maybe he will.
I've got Jacoby's kit from that time, the red jacket and the yellow pants.
Really?
Well, because I told him, look, I want to get. Ross has Craig's yellow pants.
Yeah, I think I was going to say. I think I talked to Ross.
Yeah, from Board with the World, and I was like, well, let's do a Brotherhood of the Traveling Pants. And like wear them around, and then people, take pictures of them all over the world.
That's hilarious.
And I told JG that, and he was like, "Gross! Why would you do
just
that? That's just disgusting."
Just pass the ball sweat in these old pants, and like all the seams are going to be gone too, right?
But I told Jacoby that, and he's like, "I got that kit." He was wearing it. He's like, "Take it with you. Send it around the world."
No way.
It's in a Burton bag that Jess Camara gave me. She got at a thrift store. That's like the rubbery old Burton bag.
No
yeah
way.
It's just sitting. I was looking at it yesterday going, what do I do with this? I got to figure it out. I'm gonna send it back to Jacoby, but he's like, has it gone around the world yet?
Yeah. He's like, come on.
No,
he's like, I'm
I
not gonna
haven't.
take it on my sailboat.
All right, any listeners listening that want to ride in Jacoby's red and white jacket that his mom cut the cuffs for his big fat arms. Yeah.
Wait, what's the size? That's going to be...
It's a small, dude. I made it work. I'm an extra large. It hurt. Yeah.
I was going to say the seams held up.
Yeah, the seams held up. It was really... I had to suck my gut in the whole time.
You're like one run. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I don't think this is going to work, man. But it would be cool to see people
small
around
people
the world.
that want to ride.
Yeah, exactly.
Must provide a follow cam.
It's crazy that there's not a bigger community of people that give a shit about the history of snowboarding.
The one thing that I have, actually, one thing I found out a lot of things, but
yeah,
when I like actively decided I'm going to do this, I'm going to find it, and I started talking to people about funding and lease rates and all these things. The one thing I did find out is there are very few people in positions of finance within the industry that are, not that they're not supportive, like there's, like Burton's been great, Todd's great, like all the people that I've spoken to are just such amazing people, supportive of the idea of doing these things and reaching out to do the help. But there's very few people within the companies that are left in snowboarding that are under the control or have anything to do with who started them, right?
Yeah, it's just Donna, really. And then maybe Tommy and like the Nitro guys. Nidecker family.
Like there's some ties. There's people that have cash and there's people that have ties to it that want to. And that I think has thrown me for a loop over the years of like, because people say, "Oh, how could it be that hard?" Or how come you haven't just opened? And I have had some opportunities to not open in a way that I would want to, but like doing some things.
Tell me the vision of the museum I'm not trying to throw you off here, but what's the vision of the like a world snowboard museum or just
so
the
it
snowboard
started off
museum?
As my like the Canadian snowboard,
sure,
because
the
and
Whistler
that wasn't so much
museum?
That wasn't so much my. I've had people question this because it came off as I just wanted to show the history of Canadian snowboarding, which wasn't the case.
Right. No.
It was just like, hey, let's do this. If I'm going to do this, it's going to be in Canada. That's my backyard. I want it. And I think it was Ernie was the first person who was like, "Oh, it should be like the world." And I was like, "You're right. Like my collection and my dive into who did what. Part of that, the big picture, like I explained to you, is like I started to realize that what has been presented as the history is very North America for us specific, where people don't even know about the brands that were in Germany and in France.
None.
And in Austria,
no idea.
Right? So you're like, hey guys, before you start keeping this story going, use Google. Like there is other, and get away from that story because dig deeper.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, and it's kind of changed. I have a couple of website addresses, like the Snowboard Museum. I don't know how I got it, but I had a couple things. I was like, I wonder if the Snowboard Museum's, and it was available. So I was like, there it is. It's the Snowboard Museum. And further on to that of like, one of the coolest things that I've been able to do, especially with my tie with doing the photography and writing, being in the industry with a bunch of guys who are involved with media and having all this stuff, is I have a really ridiculous archive of magazines, magazines and this and all this stuff. And ISM was the magazine. Like it was, you know what I mean?
Magazine,
so there was a bunch of things in my head where I was always doing this. And then I was, it wasn't very long ago. I'm like, ISM, like the International Snowboard Museum.
Oh, damn.
So
that's
as I've been
great
doing it,
idea.
I've been talking to people about different ways to do logoing and stuff. Because obviously when the doors do open, it's like product. Like you got to have a way to keep the doors open. And it's going to be like, the wine and cheese galas and all this stuff. But so I've like always thought of these logos that were classic snowboard logos that are like, that you could change. One of them is like Ken's logo. I've like ripped it off a few times.
Hell yeah.
And like there's been these things where it's like, it's been long enough, those things aren't around, but people remember them. So being able to do that, and that was one of the big things is there's a classic ISM logo of like, it's someone hiking and it just says ISM.
Yep.
And that was like one of the first ones that I went to rip off.
Sure.
Like this just very block letter ISM. And I was like, oh, now I took that pretty much same thing, changed it a bit, International Snowboard Museum.
So perfect.
And I'm like, that's the thing, is it's like, it fits, it's all these things, and it had to change from Canada, not because I don't want to think it's Canadian, but also I've talked to people who are, like really great business people that have companies, and that was part of like, you need to think bigger. You need to think, and part of the discussions I've had with Ted and Flynn and like those guys do their own thing, and we've all done our own thing, and that's part of it as well. Is like, this isn't a full-time job. This is like a passion project. In no means is it's something that's ever I imagine would make money or do anything. It is strictly like, this is what's given me this focus for so many years of my life.
Yeah.
That this is what I want to try to do to give back, is like, I've been able to hold on to all these things and collect these things, and been given these things, and I want to be able to share those things as deep as possible, so that 30 years from now or whatever it is, it's not a lost story. It's not a lost thing. So my vision for the whole idea is as we talk, like the loss of the like mini pipe, going along with that same range. As I look at it, things have changed a lot because of social media, and there's still core shops. There's still people who are doing it, but I feel like there's been a loss of that social interaction of, we all used to go down to the local skate shop, and we all used to go down to the local snowboard shop and sit on the couch and watch videos and talk about videos and rewind. And like, the shop owners let us in some respect.
Yeah.
And I know that still does happen. Like, I know you could still go to like the Circle, you could still go, but it isn't the same. Like, it's become, people talk online, people do these things, and we don't have the same like video release part, like the stuff that we used to always have, this tie to the community, which, like I said, it's the best. You can't beat this community. You can't beat what it still offers. And I know it's changed from what we had. And like, Chomlik was the one who told me that made sense the most in the last few years, of like, we had it through a generation where no one can ever have it the same.
Truth.
But our kids are creating their own version of that. And it isn't anything like what we had, but to them it is. That's their version of it. But for me, I was like, the one thing that I see disappearing from the community is that community hub, that like that place. You go meet people on the hill, you see, but I'm like, if there was a way to have an outlet like what we have up the road, you have Whistler Blackcomb, you have this vibrant community, people coming from all over the world, with a tie to the history as well, in a huge way, and with a bunch of guys who are still around, that are still there. And I'm like, creating something that is like the arts, there's always museums, there's always libraries, there are always things, but like, where do you go now for a movie premiere? You like, go to Whistler, you want to do a movie premiere, you got to rent the conference center. You know how much it costs to rent the conference center?
Can't even imagine.
So how do you do a snowboard or a ski premiere or anything? Like, I'm not specifically saying it has to be. I'm like, I feel like there's a place where we can open a brick and mortar museum space that's a community hub. So the community hub is the fact that we have an archive of magazines, we have an archive of video footage, we have the ability to scan photos, we have the ability to scan magazines, we have the ability to search a database where, with, like I said, with my tie to the world of what I came from, with the film and media, I have this dream of like setting up this like LiDAR 360 scan thing, so that all the boards that are in my collection, plus the boards that are available to us from other people, are going to be like documented, full 360 scan, who made it, when they were made, how they were made, like as much info as we can provide. That's like, someone can go in and actually look, like you can zoom in and see these, like how it was built. Because when you see a photo of this, if you've never held one, you don't get it.
No.
But with like VR glasses now and stuff, being able to like see it, but also having a space where people can come in and actually physically see these things. And I've worked through a few different scenarios on how to make that happen. And my biggest takeaway from it has been, there is a lot of support for wanting to do it from different people. And I don't want to commit to telling someone I'm going to do it until it's done properly.
Yeah.
And part of that I found out is that I had to put the brakes on some of the stuff, because I was like, I don't want to rush into doing this thing where it's going to cheapen the product. And the product being something that's a passion project for this many years, that it would suck to try to do it and not have it done the way that it should be.
Totally.
So there's some stuff that's happening, and there's, Canada Snowboard, Dustin Eisler, we've chatted off and on, and there's like this brewing thing of like there is a place for this to start fitting and get funding to do these interviews and find a space that's going to work that, you know, mom and dad want to bring their kids to go and drop them off and hang out, not like a place that they can't stay after, you know, like they do it properly. And I think that's what my goal is, to try to get to a place where there's a way to create a community hub that's able to be somewhat funded as this nonprofit entity, where people can use it to do their video premieres. People can come, and there will be that place where there's the screens going, you can hang out, you can talk about your snowboarding, you made a video, come and show it. Like having that ability to bring all those kids that, you know, those new kids are just as passionate about snowboarding or more than we were. And the community's 100 times bigger, or 10,000 times bigger.
So
I
big.
can't even fathom the numbers anymore. But to be able to like have them come in and be like, oh my God, like where is that? For like, that's from France in 1980. Like, here's some video of these guys riding wherever. Here's some guys from Japan, and be able to actually start that thing other than just like the instant gratification scroll of Instagram, where you might see something.
You see,
and you forget it.
You see the most amazing shit, and 2 seconds later, you see
gone.
some other weird shit.
Yeah, and that's it. Is
gone.
We have the tangibility of having, you know. And so again, like I can go on rants about this stuff, but my thought of having this archive is also like, it isn't just the boards, and that was the big thing that people are not like. A lot of people haven't gotten. I was like,
yeah, you
this is like a proper
huge.
It's
right.
the people. It's the stories they're still able to share, or maybe it's going to be their kids, or maybe their wives, or
right.
But they're legit stories like you've been able to capture.
How fun would it be to have Ernie DeLoss there as a featured guest?
And that's
right?
and that's it. And that was I think one of the first people I told about this. Like, it would have been in my head for a while. One of the first, probably the first two people I told about this thing, or I was like, I really want to try to do, was Chuck and Ernie.
Yeah.
And it was because it had been in my mind for long enough that I was like, it's time. And I think it's in the process of doing that where I realized that there isn't a lot of that. Like, the industry's definitely accepting and more open to like the past. Totally. But there has been so many years of people just getting punted through this industry. And really not getting a lot out of it. And not the industry, no one's owed anything from it.
Yeah.
Like, and that's part of it too, is like, I feel blessed that I was able to grow up in a household that allowed me to get in the mountains, that financed, was able to help me do it, was part of my life for that long, and actually caught my attention long enough to hold it. And I'm like, regardless of what the background behind the scenes is of like, I've got this thing that now I know I have and whatever, with a kid that has that now too, I see how important that was. So to be able to have these places where you can go and be like, here's your community. No one cares what color your pants are. No one cares what board you ride. Like, everyone's doing this for a reason. And the reason is, it's because anyone who's ever been out on a snowboard and like spun off a jump or done that one pow turn where you're just like, if you're not hooked on that and you don't want to do that there's a reason people want to keep doing this. Yeah. And push through like crazy injuries and do these. It's because you can't beat it. And then you see that the support of that community in the ways that we have, like with Keenan passing, and with Passion, with these people that have been these, when you think about it, when they're here with us, they're not like, no one was like, oh, they're a pillar of the, like, they had their people. You had your people. It was your buddy you went running with. Yeah. But to see the change of like people like Gallant, people like Jeff, people like these people who were there, that were just there doing what they love. They're like, they were snowboarding, they were filming, they were taking photos, they were doing, and like, you hung out with them in the mountains. Anytime you saw them, there was never a time like, and that's generally what we've all been able to grow up in. Like, can't remember being anywhere when I was snowboarding, interacting with other people that were snowboarders in that whole generation, that I ever went to the hill and was like scared that someone was mad that they were going to, hit you or beat you up or whatever. It's like, you just were surrounded by a bunch of people that you knew you could go talk to, and they were your buddies. And that continues to this day, like, going up the hill and run into Ken or run into like all these people. And it's just like it was. You're out riding POW and riding your board, and that's what everyone's doing.
Yeah, I spent the last 11 years traveling around meeting snowboarders just in random places, and it's still the exact same as it was before.
And it's crazy to me that like I've been listening to you, and to me I'm like, oh, he's got the greatest job ever. Like, you're doing it, you're doing what I want to. Like, I want to go see these guys, and then part of me is like, well, it's been done now, and I'm like, no, wait, I still have this. You've had these conversations, but that's getting more eyes, and it's like that whole thing to me is like that. That's what keeps it going too. If like hearing those people that are like, oh, and like, thank God, my wife is like, she's understanding. I know she's the number of times that I've had to like move and have these things change, and it's like I've got a storage container full of stuff and doing these things, and people are bringing boards and stuff's arriving to the house, and can you imagine having like, she's like, it's the passion of that thing that's like, how do you keep that? And for me, it's just, that's my life. Like, I go to film sets and I'm doing flying drum, doing these things, and it's like, but anytime I have a chance to come into the mountains, like I get to go shoot NST with Gabe, and I get to go, and it's like the first time I ever went to Alaska was getting dropped off in a plane to go splitboarding with Travis and Jonathan and Newsom, and I had never been there before. And then last year I'm back in Alaska and I'm in a tent, and I'm like, how is it that I've only really actually gone to Alaska a few times? I did get to go heli with Newsom, but I'm like, I said to Travis, I'm like, why is it that I've only got to come to Alaska twice with you, and both times I end up in a tent, At least this time there's helicopters involved. But I'm like, there's all these things where it's like in a heartbeat, we're going from doing these things, but it's like we're all doing different things. But I'm like, man, if someone called me right now and was like, hey, do you want to go fly a drone in Japan? Like, there's nothing more that I would rather do than go do, I get to have a snowboard and the thing that I want to go, like.
Yeah, the passion, it's like, as I got older and I had kids, I wanted my kids to be my passion. Like, I wanted that. Like, I thought, okay, I'm going to dive into being a dad, like this thing, snowboarding, that's got me. And my kids have me in a different way. Yeah. It's not the same.
Were you able to separate that? Like, how did it take you a while to separate that, or is that like?
Yeah, well, I was dumb. I came into it and I was like, okay, I quit snowboarding now. I'm just dad all the time. Dad is the thing, because I want to be a dad like I was a snowboarder, where it was like my number one commitment is to this thing. Yeah. But then the problem is that there's no dad. I'm just like kind of like a guy who's doing everything.
You're filling a seat.
Yeah. Or I'm like, dad do this, dad do that, dad do that. Who is dad though? And then I realized, shit, I want to show my kids who I actually am. Yeah. To influence them to be who they actually are.
Well, because you're showing them that you have a passion for something.
Exactly.
And that's like why I asked you that, is like, I've got two very different kids, and both, like I said, both have their own things that they're into. Yeah. And like, they both came through, they both loved snowboarding, and like, then it got to the point where like, one of them really doesn't so much, but kind of, and but it's not the passion. Yeah. But it's like, whatever it may be, follow that thing. Totally. But having like that's part of this whole, like, my kids have grown up in this, right?
In like
they've heard me talking about it. They've seen it. They joke all the time because they grew up in this world where I was never the pro snowboarder. I was never this thing, but I was a photographer and I was a writer and I was building parks, and I know I've met all these people. And like, those guys. They're my, like, they're my friends, and they're not those people. Like, they're, and I see it with my kids. They're like, oh, it's Mark McMorris, and like, there's people where it's like they're growing up with these people, like what we would have done to the Warbs, or like those guys, like Boyer. Oh, so I understand it. Yeah. But the disconnect of them just like, everybody. Everyone's just and it's like they joke about it because I'm like, oh, my buddy, he was one of the best. Yeah. And it's like, they grew up with Jonathan coming to the house all the time, and I was like, oh man, Jonathan was like, and they're like, yeah, one of your buddies, they're always like the best of the thing. And it's kind of like, oh man, that's got to be really funny because they did grow up here, and they did grow up in this world where like a lot of those people were.
It's kind of crazy. My daughter's good friend, her dad's a very professional person, and was like, well, I don't care what you're into as long as you're the best in the world at. And I was like, Jesus, that's the...
No pressure. Right?
Yeah, what? You're setting her up to... That's a really difficult thing. But then I'm like, my snowboarder mind is like, it's easy to be the best in the world at something if you just pick some really obscure random thing. What does he mean by the best in the world? Well, I'm already the best in the world at being myself. Like,
yeah, that's all you need. Right?
That's all you need. Come on, Dad, figure it out.
I think that's kind of pushed into us too, though. Of you're striving for something.
Yeah,
you're striving for something like it. Same as anything, you're always going to strive. Like all of us. That's how. Same as how we all got into this, right? I'm striving to do this thing.
Yeah.
And I'm good at it, and I'm going to strive to do better. And these people are better, and I'm going to do better.
Yeah, there's an aesthetic to it, but the biggest part of it, and I've been hearing Kearns talk about this with the movie that he's just come out.
Yeah,
and the social media
which was phenomenal,
stuff, which was insane. Watch it, watch it. When you get a chance, go watch it. The fact that we were so lucky to have a passion that has a body felt sensation.
Yeah,
that our bodies remember. I mean, I was just snowboarding yesterday, but our bodies remember what it is to be fully embodied.
Yeah,
to like the mind goes away. It's like the Zen monk in the cave or whatever. We go there every time we everything else melts away. You're looking at the line going, okay, I want to get a turn on that.
Yeah.
Or I'm going in the air. I'm going to grab my board.
It's strange to hear it, like having heard you interviewing Chris and having heard, like, watched the movie.
Yeah.
And heard people talking about it, of like, you disassociate I do anyway. Like, you disassociate that feeling with what you're doing because you don't ever think about that.
No.
You know, like I there's a reason why when it dumps, you're like, I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. to drive north to be at the front of that line.
Yes.
Because I want those 3 runs of doing that thing
I need
before the tracks are there and before I have to wait in line to ruin that thing.
Yep.
And I had no problems when I came around from run 3 of not having the lineup to see the lineup. I had no problems being like, I'm going to go home now.
That's it.
And there was no,
yeah.
And in each of those 3 runs, there was like a few of those moments where you're like, the freedom of that full, like you said, the full body feeling of like, I just went and got a bunch of super fun turns with a buddy who's also the dad, who was also in the morning, and it was like run 3, we ran into a couple of people, like high-fived under Keenan's sign, and I was like, all right, I'm out. And you know what I mean? And like on my way out even, it was like, oh, that was pretty fun. Should I go down Lower Insanity? It's getting pretty schmooey. And it was like, I go, you had to, like, I think it's going to be pretty good. And I bounced my way down through some like schmooey schnar and then came out the bottom like, oh, maybe that was a mistake. But you're like, the top 2 turns coming in, sure, we're good.
Most people don't inhabit their bodies that much in their whole life, like a flow state of like, it's like maybe top athletes, but not the general public. And we can be the general public and actually have that experience. It's a shortcut to like something important in life. I don't know.
Mental health, I think.
Mental health,
like,
just
another of the things no one really talked about or no one does a lot until it gets to that point, right? Of like hearing about all the stories and reading this and seeing it and going through it myself of like losing that thing, or like I have to change what I'm doing. Like when I changed from doing the photo stuff to like, oh God, I broke my back. I can't shoot this year. I can't do this thing. I want to do this other thing. Is it going to work? And it's like you're watching something that might be taken away from you.
There's a push, hey? Wow.
That's it,
How did you break your back?
Well, I was at the Vintage Board Traders Baldface event.
Wow.
The
very first one?
Year?
Sick.
Second year. I don't remember. It was 2000.
You're in the middle of nowhere. My God.
I can't remember what year it was. It was probably 2012. I want to say.
That makes sense.
And I had been up at. I've been really fortunate to be able to spend some time at Baldface over the years because I drive snowcat and I did photography and I met Jeff a really long time ago. Ongoing joke. I sent an email actually to I think I've spoken about this before too, but I sent an email to Baldface about going to drive cats because I was in New Zealand working at Mount Potts and And during that trip, Boyer and Gooch and Craig and like a group of people came over, and I found out that Craig was doing some stuff with, and so I was like, "Hey, are you guys looking for a cat driver?" At Baldface.
Email.
And it was like buffery. I still have the Hotmail. Like I kept my Hotmail.
Me
my
too.
Hotmail was Snowcat Jeff, and
Nice.
and I kept the emails because I have, as nerdy as this sounds, I have emails from Craig and I have emails from Buff, and like, let's look,
wow.
you like comment, and I can't get rid of that email now. So like I just keep it, but I tried to go to work for them.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and
yeah.
like, we're all covered. And
Yeah.
like,
yeah.
and then obviously years later going, and I was there shooting with, I went there with Absinthe, like back the first time I ever went.
Damn.
And stayed at Jeff's one night and then went up and we were chatting back and forth, and then that story came out where I told him, and we were shooting up there for a few days, and I can't remember exactly. I don't know how I got tied. Like, I just connected with JP too. He's like such a legend.
Such a legend.
And I can't remember. He might remember, but there was something where the cat was trying to get up a ridge, and there was something, and I did at that point was taking photos. I wasn't really doing, and I think I made a comment about if I can catch track spinning or something. And then Jeff let me get, like, I think he'd like kicked his driver. Like, he was like, "Hey, get out, Jeff's gonna," and let me. I wish I could remember exactly how it happened, but anyway, I was there to shoot with Absinthe, and it turned into like, I think he like let me jump in the cat to put this road into this ridge.
No,
I'll have
way.
to talk to Jeff. He might, like I said, he might remember. Anyway, and at that point on, it was like I connected with him, but also just like I've always like that place for me, and like for so many other people, of like just my whole body calm of like being so. You know, years back, he asked me to go and do staff photography. I did a few seasons off and on there doing staff.
Wow, no
staff.
way.
Yeah, because it, like, why wouldn't you?
Of course
and,
you would.
And then, you know, I've been up.
Like the
roads
staff
for Valhalla
photographer.
And
Yeah, the staff photographer, like, you're out taking photos of guests.
Doing client photos.
I love
So
that.
it was like the guest photo. Cause
our guy for Valhalla was super good.
For me, doing client photos, you go from like where I was in photography, like trying to catch the cover shot.
Yeah.
And I was there, and like these people are just out shredding, and they want to, and you're like, they're having the best time of
You
their
can
life.
get the best photo of them in their life just because they're in the most insane backdrop, great snow.
And for me, I was like, man, I can put a camera in my chest pack or my camera, and like I can ride POW,
Still have a fun day.
and have such a fun day, and like be able to actually be in that zone and not have like to be that. So anyway, like I said, it's been quite a few years where I've been like, I'm really, really fortunate that like I can connect and like go in and help if they need a photographer.
Sick.
Or like,
Sick.
like I said, I went out and did some shift for Valhalla to help them put roads in a couple years ago, and gone to do some like Danny's like Turning Man thing. We went and built a bunch of stuff for him for that. So it's been awesome to have that connection, and for me, that's kind of, it's like the greatest thing ever. It's like,
that's amazing.
I can jump in a cat. I can go do the thing. I can bring a sled.
So you broke your back at the VST thing.
Yeah, the first thing, I forgot that's where that started. I told you, it's rabbit holes. Like
rabbit holes.
So the VST thing, we flew in. I think I had been at Baldface doing staff training or something.
Yeah, it was early season, those VST things, right?
Yep. And right out in front of the lodge, there was a jump that we had pushed up with the cat.
Oh, sweet.
And we were kind of coming down through the lodge, just coming hidden. It was like a little hip.
Yep.
And we had hit it a few times. It was like Dow was there, Braz was there.
Yep.
It was like that group of crew. Surface was there. And Surface has the photo of it. I was riding like a 86 Sims, like 1500.
Oh, nice.
And JP slingshotted me in with the snowmobile. And so where we had landed at the front of the lodge, there's a retaining wall. And we were like hitting it like a hip and landing on this the front portion, and it was blown in super deep snow.
Dope.
So yeah, long story short, JP slings me in on the sled. I sling myself off, and my plan is like, instead of landing where we had been landing, Surface was on there at the fisheye, you know, like, gonna get a shot from Surface.
Sick.
I slung off and went over where we had been landing into the like backside part of it.
Yeah.
Well, on the backside part of it, it was not as deep blown in. It had been scoured. And so I landed, and it was actually like the boulders for the retaining wall barely covered. So I landed kind of like a little heel heavy, like hip style heel heavy. And basically as soon as I hit, my feet shot out because it was just dusted rock and went straight to my ass
Oh,
on the rock, and
so you
compression fractured a few vertebrae in my lower back.
Yikes!
And Buff and those guys, like they will joke about it now, but like they were doing guides training during that time, and they had just gotten these new mats that, like, I don't know, they inflate or they put air in them and they hold the compression mat thing.
Sure.
They were just down the road with the snowcat with the guides doing their guides training, and they got called back to the lodge to get me out. So basically they like unstrapped and put me in a backboard and like brought me into the lodge. It was my first day at that VST thing with all the crew.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then funny story is they called, my heli had to come to get me to the hospital, obviously.
Oh.
And Bridges had been down in town trying to figure a way to get up because he had missed his way in.
Oh,
it's like Bridges and somebody else, and so my helivac brought me down to the helipad down low, and I didn't know because I was like on oxygen and all that stuff. But yeah, I guess Bridges and that had jumped in the heli when they called to come helivac me out, so they got their lift in. And I got the bill for the heli for my Medivac over there.
Man.
I found out like 3 years later that it was like Bridges I don't know who was with him, but Bridges got a free bump on my heli Medivac up to Boldface.
Yeah, unreal, dude.
Yeah, but that was like kind of my end of
life-changing event there.
Yeah,
what
fairly.
Was the
we had just
recovery
had our
like?
second kid.
Yeah.
I guess it was like a couple days before his birthday. So it was like, his birthday is the 10th of December. So it would have been like the 8th or 5th or something in that.
Oh, man.
But that changed a few things because I had a fairly good thing. I was shooting event stuff, like the open and the pre-qual stuff for the Burton at that point.
Yeah.
They had me on a contract. So I had like a bit of a retainer for that. I had a pretty, not huge, but had a good thing going with Sims with Gaetan.
Sick.
So I was on a retainer for them. I was doing still all the magazine shooting. And that was kind of one of those things where I'd already started dabbling in drone stuff.
What was your first drone?
I had built it. Like, so when I first started doing drones, there was no like DJI they didn't sell drones. It was like another company. I had this, it was called Gowie. It was like a German, or like there was no off-the-shelf drone you could buy at that point. It was like buying pieces from all over the place, building them and hoping.
And most people were doing FPV stuff with that at the time.
No, not even. Like,
it wasn't even there yet.
Most people were doing like, I started flying like contour cams and GoPros. Just stuck. You didn't.
Right. They had
you had to guess where you were almost.
Okay.
Then it started going to like analog screens where you could see what you were filming. But
I got
you.
It
progressed quickly, but we were basically building machines to do that.
That's really early in the
early,
yeah.
And then they started getting to the point where like you could buy these things to fly bigger cameras.
Gimbals and stuff.
So my gimbals didn't, belt-driven gimbals and stuff, but nothing like we have now. But yeah, so I started doing that, and my whole plan was like, I had already grown up in this world where, I'm shooting in Whistler. I was like with Sandbox, with Sanslow and Keenan's and all of those guys and Renzi, but I'm like, I want to shoot this stuff different.
Yeah.
Because I had seen Dano's shots, I'd seen Surface shots. I'm going to these places and trying to do it my own way.
Right.
But in my head, I'm like, I'm going back to these places trying to find new stuff, but the riders are going back to the same zones sometimes, not all the time. But I'm like, if I can get in the air and fly out and take a photo. So my whole thing was I was going to build these drones that I could maybe pack in a case that I could bring out to shoot. And it was all revolving around still cameras. Like I had no intentions of filming.
Okay. I see.
So when I got hurt at Baldface, I had a couple months of recovery. I was in a back brace. I couldn't do anything, and I was kind of like, whoa. And it was right when magazines all started. Publishing industry was shitting the bed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like I saw the writing on the wall, but I had, we had kid number 2.
Yeah.
There was less freedom for me to be like, hey, should we go to Revy? Yeah, let's go to Revy. How long? Well, I don't know. Like there was that ends pretty quick, right?
With 2 kids, yeah.
So understanding the way the industry worked and the way the riders were at that time, the changeover to film was changing anyways, but also knowing like, as fickle as it is, if you're not saying yes to going shooting when they call you on Monday,
They stop
and
calling.
and someone else goes.
Yeah.
When they go out again on Thursday, they call
that
right.
guy.
And so I knew that was kind of coming with what I had seen already. Kid number 2 was here. The financial stability of shooting stills and writing isn't really that financially stable. It's a lot of spending money all winter to recover it all summer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was really lucky in that time. I would still do park stuff. Like I was still dabbling into snowcat work all along the way, right?
You always had stuff on
and it's the only way that I could really do it. And aside from that, I started bringing in vehicles from Japan.
Oh.
I went to Japan to do some park work, and I met an Aussie buddy who had been importing cars to.
No way.
So he was like, "Hey, you get these cars at auction." So I started bringing
a lot of money on that
Delica vans before anyone
yeah.
like I figured out how to do it. So I was like bringing in I'd bring in like it started with one, and then I was like, I would
does it.
It's
awesome.
And I did it for a few years where I was like 5-6 vehicles every year. Saying that I'm gonna get in trouble somewhere, but so I was doing that too, and so it was like all these little supplementary things that basically helped me out. But the big part of it was, I had a couple months where I was like doing this stuff. Jamie and I were like, "Oh shit! Like, what are you gonna do?" I was thinking about doing real estate. I've always been into like property and real estate stuff, and
sure.
Construction and and so I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I really think this drone thing's gonna work. And she tells a story of like, she'd go to bed and I would unleash a world of shit onto our kitchen table because I was like soldering that. And she'd be like, "What are you doing?" Like, and and I was like, "It's gonna go," And so what happened was I in that spring I got to go sledding again. I ended up getting to finish my stuff with Gaetan. I ended up being able to go shoot the Open for Burton in the spring. So I got a little bit of that pulled in. But as I had been doing that, all this stuff was changing, flying cameras. And all of a sudden I was like, this is pretty cool. I can do these. And I had my own thing. So I started doing some film work with them, the drones. And somehow that turned into like, I got tied in with another guy who had started another company doing drone work. And he had a backer, and I was kind of like, man, I can't keep up with this guy. He has like 5 of the drones. I only have 1 of, or what? And
sure.
So he's like, well, I don't really know anybody who I feel comfortable flying these things because it's expensive cameras on there. And so I gave up on buying and building and progressing my own thing and just started flying for him. And that turned into a couple of years of doing that. And then the film industry opened up the doors to drone operators and drone systems for the union.
Wow.
And then tied back in again through the industry, like there was some back and forth because I was working for the competitor, but ended up starting to work with Derek and Jason at Revered.
Sick.
And again, it was all through, it was all through this original wanting to fly my still camera, and in the end, like I never went back to really doing still photography work,
right?
Because all of a sudden I had been flying these drones for quite a number of years at that point. And now you could buy them off the shelf. But the difference of like, I've been flying for quite a few years already, and now we're flying, $50,000 cameras with $100,000 lenses. And, all of a sudden you got $500,000 in the air. You're not going to let the kid who just got the DJI drone from the thing for Christmas.
No.
So it really lucked out with that. And Derek and Jay are both like, Derek's been in film world forever since he left snowboarding, and so tied into that world, and like never met a guy that can work as hard as like he juggles and works. I don't know how he does it. But they created this thing where it's like something. Exactly. And Jay is the same. Like he is this visionary guy, but again, both from action sports world, both from snowboarding. It fits really well, I think, because it's like a pretty high consequence, and to be able to shut that off and just do what you're doing and not really have the same ties. So that was the next kind of the next step of my world out of getting into this drone world and shooting in film. Still doing little jobs for film snowboarding stuff, but as that progressed, film world was where I needed to be. And by the time drones caught up to the point where they were pretty easy to use and would last for a long time and stuff, kind of everyone had them to go shooting. Everyone's got
really exploded,
and they're very
the last
small
5
and you
years or whatever.
But when I started, it was like I was carrying like 2 Pelican cases of batteries with hand warmers, and the drone would hold this Sony camera that I had that had a zoom, and like, but it would fly for 3 minutes at a time. And
Jeez,
but I still managed to get some stuff, but it was definitely not. It wasn't what it is now.
Yeah.
Now it's like, it's insane. Like what we get to fly in, at NSD or in Alaska or whatever. You're like, if we could have that.
Did they provide the drones for you when you're flying that?
No, I have like behind you in the case, there's one of our mountain ones. We have a couple of those. So we ended up, Gabe, the guy who does all the 360, like the FPV stuff.
Yeah.
Him and I and this guy Liam, who we all actually work with Revered as well. We partnered to do our own stuff outside if it's like action sports stuff.
Yeah.
So we came in a couple years ago and started doing the higher angle stuff, and Gabe does the chase cam stuff, and then we kind of all come from world, same thing, like all come from camera world, and
that's wild.
Loving it. Gabe's a great snowboarder too. Like everyone in the crew is like, you go into that world and realize like it's a whole different level of fun, because you're doing stuff that you enjoy, but also having done it, you can kind of maybe read into it a bit better than what.
Be a little more intuitive than AI. Because I had a Skydio too, which is advanced AI drone, but the problem with it, and I've tried to
fall fast enough.
It can't follow because it doesn't understand arcing turns. So you're going this way, it thinks you're going to continue to go that way.
Stops, and
then you go this way, and it goes, "Where the hell are you?" And then it like really strains. And comes over. Why are you going that way?
It won't take long. Like it won't take long. But
it got stolen. So now I'm looking at maybe just getting one of those little hover air maxes for. Like there's used ones for $500 now. You just take it out, you put it up,
that's
and
the
it
crazy
just follows
thing, right?
you.
Is like I have like these little drones where I think about how big and how much stuff I had to fly something that was
like a Mini 4 or
and
something.
now I have that's a Mini 3 Pro
2,
and then
3
that's
Pro.
Just a little FPV drone beside it.
That you made, or that's that one.
Yeah, that's just like you buy it. It's just like a frame kit. You put batteries.
When I met Derek and interviewed him, I was like, "Okay, we gotta put a chairlift on a drone."
Jeez. And he showed you our big one, right? Like
he showed the big one. I'm like, could that lift a chairlift in a person? He's like,
it's hanging up in our shop.
Really?
And it's got a gimbal on it that's like, you could sit in it like a chair almost.
Yeah.
Oh, that would safely lift anybody. But
safely.
The problem is that I think I've talked to you about it. Is like we kind of were like, hey, we're gonna do this because Chris Flynn, another pilot that works with us, he's like friends with Kai Patterson, and we were like, oh, we have the people we know. Like, let's get the Razor and the tracks. We're gonna go up to, and our whole thing was like, we could get someone and we'll lift them up to like the spines of Brandywine or something.
Exactly.
Right? But the minute you put a human payload on a drone, you're no longer flying a drone. Like you're now bound with
an unmanned thing.
Well, now you have a human payload. You're basically Transport Canada would not look too kind.
It's
with
Transport
putting
Canada,
a human
that's the thing.
under as a payload, because if something goes wrong, you're like, it's not an aircraft, right? It's not made for moving a human.
Right.
So it for sure would, and it has the power to do it, and we could do it.
Let's go do it down in Belize, where you wouldn't get in any trouble. If someone died, they'd be like, what did you think was going to happen, you morons?
Yeah. But I mean, there's the world and the technology in drones it's changing so fast.
I heard insane. A podcast on a guy who got to try one of the flying car drones.
Yeah.
Where it takes off and lands itself. Yep. You're not in charge of that.
They're almost
but then
the
when
same
you're in
systems.
when you're in the air, you get to drive it. And this guy was like an Air Force fighter pilot.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, these are way more fun."
Yeah.
These are the best.
They're doing sky taxis apparently in Dubai, and there's
the
company who was the first to offer like a
human payload thing. Yeah.
They started delivering their first round of human.
They're doing it.
They started a few months ago.
Yeah, it's not going to be something that you'll be able to just buy and then go up to Whistler backcountry and jump out.
No, not at all. Yeah,
but it's too bad. Well, maybe when society folds.
You still got to get it. I think it's going to be the same as anything. There's limitations in place, and you're bound to these limitations of battery technology and temperatures. Unfortunately, the one downfall with anything to do with the snowboard industry and drones and cameras in general is like batteries do not like getting cold.
They hate it.
Yeah. So,
They
I mean,
hate it.
I don't think the helicopter is going to get replaced with a drone anytime soon.
I was thinking
But,
it'd be cool for like as like snow only falls in certain places.
Yeah.
To have a movable ski hill that's run by drones. Like so you just
Plunk it down.
You plunk it down and you got your batteries are insulated under the ground. You know what I mean? And so the drones are actually on like cables that they fly, but they're dragging some mechanism around that people
something
are
that
sitting
could
on.
move.
Yeah.
There's definitely, I mean, it's the same as anything. It's the same as how fast AI and even the technology we had, like how fast drone stuff's changed.
Yeah.
It probably will happen. It's not, just more.
Do you FPV for fun
Yeah.
sometimes?
Yeah, totally.
You
I
probably
love
have
it.
some insane
fun.
footage of
You know
just,
what
like,
I'm terrible with
features and
in the world of photography, I was pretty adamant, like my last few years of like shooting.
yeah.
I was like, I could shoot and I'd log everything and met it down and do some editing. And
Yes.
I have never, you could ask Leyland about this. I've been like, how long I've been doing video stuff now. The one thing with working in film is you don't ever keep any of your, like, we're working on shows, right? We're working on.
Yeah, you're not managing
we're like,
data.
Here's the card, and
there
the
you
DIT
go.
takes it. And like once in
Yeah.
a while, there'll be stuff that we'll like, on shows we've worked on where you get like a really cool shot. We might log it to like have as like the keeper stuff. And I definitely have folders. Like I have like 4 or 5 terabytes of footage from Antarctica that I went years ago.
Sick.
But I've never had a computer that's good enough to actually play the stuff back enough to be like I had.
Yeah.
But I'm like, man, this sucks. It won't even play back because it's
too
I
huge.
just have gotten a new laptop, and the other day I like plugged in some drives to start looking again.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I'm terrible because photos, even the biggest ones I ever took, like they would load and I could deal with them.
Totally.
And I get a video file and I'm like, this is bullshit. Like, I can't.
Sucks.
And it's like now we're shooting 6K raw video. It's like endless amounts of hard drives.
Yeah.
And I really actually have to up that game because I am actually like have this little mini project of like doing these short interview things, trying to get the story going with this whole like what was like not the standard like what was your first snowboard, but like to show how closely tied our generation is already with or still is with the originators.
Yeah.
Of like, hey, who was the first person that you knew was
Yeah.
so that I can get this ball moving and this whole thing that I've got laid out. But I really do have to start getting better at the edit thing because the number of times I did this thing for a buddy and I was like, man, I'm trying to export this video clip and it's like I've left it now and it's 3 hours and I went over to his house and he's like, what are you trying to do? I'm like, oh, I just have this clip. And it's like, oh yeah, so here it goes. It's about, and it was like 1.5 minutes or 3 minutes or something. And it does it. And I'm like, wait, what? Like how, what? I don't get how you did that. No. And it was because I had the settings, like whatever setting I clicked wrong. And he has this crazy video editing system. But basically, I'd clicked the wrong compression setting or something.
Yes.
And like my old laptop was trying to grind through it. The new one would do it pretty quick. But I'm like, can I just come over? And he's like, he literally had it done, compressed, and sent it to the Dropbox file. And I'm like forwarding the email to the guy. Like, yeah, sorry, that took me all day. Like, no idea, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's only a gig. How hard could this be?
Yeah. When I started with the video thing, at Rob Dow's request, like insistence, really.
Yeah. What compression are you filming?
It's just 4K raw, maybe. But the crazy thing is that I went from everything fitting, like a whole season fitting on a 64 gig card.
Yeah.
Audio's nothing. It's zero.
Nothing.
I've got one card in here. It's got
records a whole
3 seasons of audio fit on there.
But the video footage is...
We're almost out.
Really?
228.
We didn't even start yet.
Yeah, we just got...
I told you, I'm like, I have this weird thing where I'm like, Jamie asked me, like, what are you going to talk about? I'm like, well, we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff. Like,
whatever comes up, and really. We can
she's
just
like,
go.
How are you doing that? How do you take...
Well, that's the beauty of this.
That's the hardest thing, too, with my, like... if I had that like one-sided pass, like I could go, I could talk to you about photography and what we did there for hours too. But it's always that like one thing leads to another, and then you're like, oh, I forgot to talk about.
Well,
you haven't even dive into the boards yet. So.
Yeah, exactly. My favorite thing about the show is the fact that it's just long form.
Yeah.
Right. And so because I sort of started out doing like, okay, tell me your story. Let's get the history of you.
Yeah.
And I saw that the Bomb Hole was kind of doing that too.
Yeah.
Jody's doing that with Airtime. The problem with it is there's no way you're going to get the whole story.
No.
And now you're kind of closing it off. Like we already did a Spencer O'Brien.
Where do you start it again?
It's like, just have people on as many times as they want to come on.
Yeah, and I think that's it. It was like I think that's probably why she's asking, because she's like, if it's
how
a video,
are you
like how do you
get
do the walkthrough? Because like we sit down and chat for a long time, and it's like I kind of you also get to the point where you're like, oh, you've seen a bit of like all of a sudden you're like, what's in all these boxes? You're like,
my God.
And you start tearing in, and like I said, I'm open to it. I'm like, I love talking about this.
Mouse's
it's kind
Mouse's garage has like the end video.
You're saying,
it's insane. Like, and you're just looking, going, what's that? What's in there? Yeah. Like, imagine how many hours of footage of random, and like,
Well, Clay told me, because I chatted with him. We met up like chatting about this thing that I'm working on, and he's like, I got talked to Johnson when I got the footage from the thing to do the documentary, and he's like, but it came with one stipulation, and I was like, what was that? And he's like, that it's didn't come back. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah. I was like, really? That's awesome. I'm glad I know where it is now.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's like,
well, if I could suggest one thing, because the International Snowboard Museum, absolutely the best. I love it. I love the name. I love the thing. I love the logo, the everything. It's perfect.
I'll show you what.
Mouse was talking about consolidating old video footage.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's his idea. I'm going to just say it's his.
Make
it a part of the thing.
We will. Well, we'll chat. So that's part of this whole thing, is along with everything that's been going on, Brad, who runs the archive museum, the history museum in Whistler.
Yeah.
He's the one who started helping me. We were applying for some digital museum grants and stuff.
Perfect.
Which has come and gone, and there's been a few things that have changed in there. But the big thing with they're trying to get a new building built in Whistler, which it's going to be epic once it's done too. Is the archive thing was a big deal for me as well, of like having all these things and talking to the photographers. And it's archiving the slides, it's archiving the video footage, it's archiving the magazines of the magazines. We have some of those, but capturing, like finding the people who have, like, in the newer versions, like all the PDF files, all the layout files, to have that as a searchable database. Yeah. And that's what I think a really big part of this is this, as far as the big picture is hearing of someone like Scott Starr when he passed there a couple of years ago, and like knowing he shot photos for all the Barfoot guys and all these other, and skateboarding and I was like, I'm like, oh, I hope somebody that is his family, whether sister or family, like, I hope they know that is something that needs to be.
I've
and
talked
it ended
about
up
it
with Gary Land.
Oh, did it? Good.
That's
good.
what because I was like, I put out the thing. I think I don't know if I talked to Chuck or to Ernie. I was like, hey, like, I don't know what's going on, but like, can we make sure that isn't, like, that stuff doesn't get tossed? Like, someone needs to go through that archive. And like,
Mouse talked about it with Sonny's archive, that his family was fighting over it because it sucks because they think and know on some level it has value. Which it does, but it has value in this community that is small and also
in the world community.
It's not. It doesn't have money value. Yeah. It has sentimental value to a generation of surfers. Yeah. So
which is it's too bad to say, because that is the case with a lot of this historical stuff.
Right.
Right. The value of these boards, there's a value to them.
Mm-hmm.
And the only people who can give you that are people who are in the world that have that passion and have that tie to that feeling, that thing.
That's right.
But to the outside world, over and above, if you were to take that,
No value. Right.
or
Oh, this old board, can I ride
stuff,
it
and
today?
somebody's like, "What's
Yeah.
that?" Oh, it's from 19. They're like, "Oh yeah, well, like what's that worth?"
Pitch
Like,
it.
why are you keeping it? Like you,
Right.
it only
You-
holds
you-
the value
yeah.
because you know, like I know the story behind that stuff. I know the story, like that was Martin's board. Like that's
Yeah.
priceless to me. I know the story that this was. I know the story where this came from. I know you know where they were. You know
Right.
that this was like somebody in the 70s made that, and there was only a handful of them at the time when it was made, and this one lasted till now. I know what I did with my snowboards when they got broken or when they got old or whatever.
Yeah.
How many got thrown in the garbage? How many got cut up? How many are buried now? You just don't know.
And
so when I get
know-
handed those
yeah.
pieces, it's like when Ken handed me Lance Mountain's flight board from 1980,
Oh,
and I was
wow,
like,
sick.
that, like, how do you put a value on that?
Yeah.
Anything
Yeah, it's
but
priceless.
a
Right,
historical. It is. It's,
Right.
It's,
Well, that's the thing. Commerce fails, like money fails for education, it fails for healthcare, and it fails at that museum level. Like,
yeah.
I just saw that the Great Wave of Hokusai sold for like 70 million Hong Kong dollars or whatever. But it's
Somebody's
a wood,
life
it's a
work, it's
wood
good-
block print. You know what I mean? So like, I don't know how do you
But
put
it's the
Yeah.
value held within the community
Yeah,
we have,
within
and
the- yeah.
and the crazy thing now is that community has gone from a very very small group of people in selective countries that had snow to
Yeah.
now being this thing that's an Olympic sport, and
global
90% of the people that are into it now don't know what happened before Shaun White came into snowboarding. You know what I mean? Like there is
Yeah, I bet they're
that-
starting to not even know who Shaun White is.
and that's what I mean.
right?
That's how quick this
Probably
is all
now.
gone, right?
Yeah.
But that was my tie to this thing is like we are still living in this generation where you could take those kids who are on the national team right now, and there is not a lot of separation between them and Camp of Champions. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
could tie back almost every and just using that as an
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
But it isn't that. It's old, but it isn't that old.
No, I say it all the time. I've probably said it on every episode this season. That watching those like Canada heritage moments where they're like the peach basket, the basketball thing, we know the guys from the peach basket. We know them.
It's so
That's
funny.
nuts.
Yeah.
Like that was like fantasy. That was like a recreation of a time that's so long ago.
Or the thing that always seems to come out and cycle our group every year, the ski patroller from
Yeah. Ed Pletch.
And you're like,
it's like a missile.
It's not that
They're
far.
like
it's
a
not
missile.
That long
No,
ago.
it's people know he's passed away. But that, like
Yeah.
Eddie from Seymour, because
Yeah.
that's all Seymour.
Yeah.
Which is even makes it that much better.
It's so good.
They're
It's
like,
so good.
we don't want them. We're never gonna want them. See you later.
Yeah.
Stay away from us. You know,
Just rude.
they're rude.
It's-
Some of them have had a little bit to drink.
We don't want. Yeah, I
You can
can't-
tell that
I can't-
patroller guy too. You just like know.
But that was every
hated
resort, right? Like
Every
that was
resort,
there was somebody,
sure.
there
Yeah.
wasn't very many that were like arms wide open. It was kind of
It's crazy because at Baker it was Duncan Howitt.
Yeah.
Like the guy just saw it. It's nuts.
yeah. It's like the right people at the right time. Like when you hear
Yeah.
those stories of the like the people who were just like, yeah, all right,
I
come on up.
asked Duncan, you got a crazy story? He goes, yeah, one time we're putting in a lift with the helicopters and we had time left over after the lift tower was in. So I got him to bring a couch and a table and we took a bottle of bourbon and a cigar and we had lunch on Mount Baker proper, the
At the
volcano
top.
at the
With the
top.
helicopter.
Yeah.
That's epic.
Took a few photos of it. Like
No way.
he's of us, right?
Yeah.
Like like Murray Seipel still making movies.
Yeah.
Like my buddy Clarence who carves totem poles. Like
Yeah.
outside of the daily grind of I took a job at a bank and it
Yeah.
gets good benefits and I 20 more years I'll be retired. We didn't do that. We couldn't
Retirement.
do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't foresee myself. It's a funny question when you have that because even with the kids now, right? Like the whole thought of that the 9 to 5, and nothing wrong with that either, right? Like that's the world needs that, and that's what we all grew up in.
No, I'm going against you. There's something wrong with it. We weren't made to do that. We should be there's no scarcity.
You're right.
They tricked us that there's no food in the world and you have to go to a job to get food. No, man, they tricked us.
I never thought about that. I meant more the fact that like there's always going to be someone who finds comfort in the 9 to 5 going and loves that thing, right?
If you should be doing what you want to do, and if that gives you a sense of purpose, and it goes by fast, and you're present.
But I have a hard sell on, I'm now a parent of 2 kids, one who's like 15, one who's 13, and neurodivergence and like, am I the parent to tell those kids that they you need to go to university and you need to, and like I didn't necessarily have that. Like my parents definitely they wanted the best. They were what are you gonna do after Banff for your year? 2000 in 1990. I'm old. And I'm like I don't have that push for the kids. You want the best for them, and I want them to do that, but I also am like, hey man, like most of the people that I know in my life, a huge portion of those people that have been my longtime friends, whatever, are all in this industry. Like, they're all. That's why, and it makes sense. I've kind of been in it too, right?
Yeah.
But a large portion of those people, that are still riding and still having fun and doing all those things, have never left some part of that. Like they're working in it, they're doing whatever. Yeah. And you have so many of them who have gone on to do jobs that are not things that you could have gone to school for.
That's
like
right.
The filmmakers and the photographers and the writers and the designers and the like there's all these people who have been so successful and been able to create a life, and it's not that it's easy. Like it's never going to be easy. There's going to be times that really suck. In anything. Yeah. But the thought that there is this big enough world and there's these things that like if you find your passion, you can find a way to make it work. But now you have this like you've been through, your kids are older, but you're like this pressure where all of a sudden you're like, oh God, like what if we fuck this up? Like you get one shot at this and and juggling those things that are pre-programmed in us as now adults that were like taught to us by our parents or somebody's that make no sense when you actually run through them. Yeah. And having that thing of like, like my oldest is like a couple of years ago was just like, I don't understand why like this school is kind of stupid. Like we're just, I'm bored and and they're telling us all the same thing. So we're going to come out of it all knowing the same thing. And what if and it was like the way it was presented was like, I don't know how much of it he got from, TikTok or whatever it was. But like we're old. He thinks differently, and he's like me. He's like those people, like artistic, whatever. But like you're not. I'm not going to be the parent that's telling you you're wrong. Like I don't necessarily agree that that's the right way either. But there's definitely things that you get out of it. Most of it's social. Like
that's true.
Most of the things that you learn in that time of being the kid is like you're learning how to socialize with people.
But he's right in that. Sorry, and I'm reading into it, but what a waste! What a waste of childhood! What a waste of potential! What a waste of, like, we could be doing anything. In Belize, where I've got some property, I think only 50% of the kids go to school. 50%,
right?
Because the other 50, they live more traditional lives. They're fishing or hunting or
their thing.
Yeah.
But there's and
they're alive.
Happy.
They're working.
And
they're doing their. It's
and,
working, right? Yeah. When I asked Martin, I went and listened to the Martin Galland episode after he passed.
Yeah.
And I was so happy to hear. Like, I didn't know that much about him, but there's a point where I asked him, like, so have you ever had a job? And he goes, wait, let me think about that. No, I don't think I ever have. I go, you never have had a job? Like you didn't like work at the like Pizza Hut or something? He's like, no, I can't say that I did. And I was like, wow, I think you're the first person I ever met who never had a job.
That guy, man, both those guys, him and Paskey's.
Oh.
Like, there's no amount of stories that can go.
No,
Like, I tried to think through it of the times. I'm like, there's times that I think of like out shooting. One of the mornings I remember like out Seagram's, and we're out and we're setting up and we've gone in early and sun's coming up, like beautiful snow, and I think like Paskey's, hey guys, check out there, my brother is coming. He's and it's like it's Paskey's talking. My brother is coming. The thing, and we're like, oh, he fucking like he had come down from the top and dropped Martin off. So we're all down in the lake, like watching here. Yeah, here he comes. He's coming down, and then can't remember exactly what happened, but he comes down. There's like this cliff band by the thing, and you just hear, anybody want a shovel? And then this shovel comes flying off the cliff, like just whipped, and we're like, what? And all of a sudden he's like, Paskey's there ripping around on his sled, and he comes down, he hits the jump, he comes down. What a bunch of joker, Someone put the shovel on the jump.
Oh my God! No.
What, you can claim the jump in the backcountry and that, and I'm not doing his accent any justice.
You're getting close.
I fucking love this guy.
Oh,
and he's
wow.
Like, I've been jumping that thing before that,
Yeah. You're gonna claim a jump by putting your shovel on it.
It was a helmet. Maybe it was something. And he's like, that's stupid. Like somebody had left a thing on this step down. Oh my God,
thank you for sharing that. That's so awesome.
Oh, dude. And then,
right.
And the best part of that is, especially with the two of them, because they just show up. Like you always see Martin, like, and then like Paskey's like super good on his sled, and then I'd be like down there hanging out, and then everyone's laughing, and then it'd be like, Martin, you guys gotta check, man. My brother, he's gonna go up the thing, and he's like, now he's talking about like Paskey's is talking about Martin.
Yeah, on the way down.
Paskey's out like roosting his sled up. He's gonna get up there, and we're like, this is the best thing.
It's the dad. It's their dad. It's like insane. when I saw their dad, they posted a couple of quick clips of their dad one time, and I was like, oh, they've got like the best dad. Dude. The two of them were their dad. It's so sick.
It was just rad to see like the brother bond.
Yeah, the brother bond.
Look at my brother. Look at my brother. You're like,
yeah, my brother. It's my brother. Everyone turn. He's coming. So let's watch what he does. Yeah.
But yeah, like that kind of stuff, right? You're like, oh, again, another tangent. There's so many of these stories, but you're like, that's that reality of just like these guys they were there for how long and they're still there. And
those are the greatest people. Are the people that just followed their heart. And that we're so passionate about it that there was no way it wasn't going to work.
The last time I ran into Martin before he got sick, I was like Home Depot, like always running into him in random spots. Coming up, oh, hey, Mr. Patterson, hey. And we're talking, and he's like, you've got to come to the surf house. First one's free. Like he's come bring the family to the surf house. First one's free. Like,
I love it.
But like knowing all the years, like when Jonathan was living up the valley there in his caboose, and like a number of times I'd be up like helping Jonathan do something in his caboose, and then like Martin would show up, and it'd be like, we're gonna go grab this log and it was like everything with those guys was an adventure.
Everything.
Like the number of times that Jonathan was like, oh no, Martin told me he found this like old barn this guy had, and he wanted the thing, and then we went out and it's way bigger and we're dragging logs out of the woods and like, but like he was down for the cause too, right?
Of course.
When he was building that house, it's like,
of course,
dragging logs out of the most random places. And Jonathan, I need you to come hold the ladder so I can screw, it's like,
these guys, and it's all of them too. It's not just those two. It's like, there's like 100 of them out here. Like when I met Kearns, and I met Kearns as like that whiskey guy. I didn't even know he'd filmed like I had no idea. I'm just I am not qualified to talk to all these people, other than I'm curious about what is going on. And every time I learn something, I'm like blown away. These guys are just, everybody is doing that. Everybody in the community is going on some adventure somewhere. Seat of the pants.
Always
building a big van they can live in. and drive around somewhere. Oh yeah, we're all going to here now. Oh, we're all going to there now. Now we're gonna surf. Now we're gonna It's an incredible community. It's an incredible.
Imagine
community.
like at the time going through the motions of doing all that. Nothing's too far off either, right? You're just
No.
like, oh, we can do this. Okay.
Exactly.
Like,
and the history through the boards is that every company maker is the same. Every guy that made these boards was doing it. Their parents were going, "What are you thinking? What are you talking about?" And they're like, "I don't know. I just have to keep doing this."
yeah, well, that's it. Too.
Except for Dimitri. Dimitri was like,
he just was like, "Peace out."
He's like, "I'm too smart for this shit." Like it's
pretty crazy.
Yeah,
pretty crazy.
He was an actual real engineer minded. He invented something in windsurfing. The dude is
takes all types, right?
Yeah.
You see what they offered and what they had, and like I said, that's why it's also kind of it's awesome to see that Winterstick's still ripping too, and is like under ownership
Seth,
of guys
right?
who are
legit
badass. Like that's
legit.
Awesome. Like it's
right.
not a company that's just a name.
Yeah, this is a 50 year. Is this year, isn't it? 50?
Probably. I don't know.
No, 50 year. It's almost a 50 year. Burton is next year.
70. When was Dimitri's?
Dimitri's got to be 71 or something. It's almost a 60
when he filed
year.
the patent. I don't know. I should know that, but
yeah, I should probably know that too.
75, whatever. It's a long time.
It's a long time
it's
ago.
awesome.
Yeah, probably 75.
Yeah.
75 to 2025 was 50 years, I think.
Yeah.
Isn't that nuts?
So you're gonna So we're gonna have to set up the cameras and be portable so that we can just roll through hours of opening boxes when you're.
Let's do it. I'll come back up and we'll do the whole thing. We've done 3.5 hours.
Have we really?
Yeah.
You're sitting here for. Are you not bored listening to me ramble?
0, dude. I can do 3.5 more if I'll have to buy bigger cards.
Yeah, maybe.
Jeff
what cards
cards.
do they use?
They use SD. Just
SD. Yeah.
I mean, for 4K video, it's
you
have to have like some certain read write rate. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Stuff,
man. So it keeps going. Yeah,
I'm just a hobbyist.
I should set
really.
something up. I'm gonna at some point I should set something up so that I can do like a 1x1 of.
Well, you know what the trick is? It's the format. You got to figure out the format, right? Like so, those Palmer ones that just came out last year.
Yeah, that was great.
They're so great, and it was the format. Like he could just keep doing that.
Yeah,
like they could just like, okay, take the next board, do the next one, right? But the thing that the biggest barrier to entry to doing a podcast or a serial thing is that it comes up so fast. Yeah. The next week is another one.
Yeah,
it gets exhausting.
Well, I kind of thought about doing like just a little like board one, like board nerd style one, just because I try to go through. You see, like I have some stuff that I have here, and then I get it back to storage, and because I go through and like I'll wax the board. Yeah. I'll do some stuff.
Yeah, just like, a little like.
And then I have boards that I haven't cleaned. Like some of them I want to clean up, and I'll be like, one at a time. I'll like clean them up and do the things just to keep them so they're conditioned. But
yeah, if you did like just set up a little spot with the camera, and each one, you just label it what year it was made. You know what I mean? That's all you have to do, and then you could have
dive into the nerd news with all the boards.
Yeah, you could have an online archive where people are just like, okay, I want to look at boards from the year I was born or whatever.
That's what I'm hoping. That's the whole like the rebrand, the rebrand of the website that doesn't do much right now, but that's the hope, is that it's going to lead to this storage archive where once we can get it proper, I really like the thought of having the searchable database and not brand specific and not world specific, like just having that stuff.
I think it's really important.
Yeah, I do too. Because it's a way bigger. It's a bigger story than what I grew up with.
Oh wow,
it's a bigger story than a lot of people know about, and that history is in all these places that no one knew about because we're in North America. Yeah, it's not any less important.
Well, even within North America, I remember at the beginning of doing the show when I went to Utah, the Utah boys were like, oh, we're so glad that you're telling the story of Utah. I'm like, no, I'm just in Utah because there's good snow.
And
there's
some people were here.
There's a whole bunch of good people here. But I realized, like, they feel shafted. They were running.
They're not California or Colorado.
Right. And they just got written out of the history. They just got written out.
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
For now.
Well, that's the thing.
The history's
like,
just simple at first.
It's there. Yeah. It's just more the like, it's not like it gets written out. It's more the like, because there's quite a bit still going on in Utah, right?
Right.
It's just more the
right.
It's just more the where the brands went, and brands didn't go base themselves out of Utah
or Colorado even. Yeah.
But like, look how big Colorado scene was for a long time in the 90s, right?
Yeah.
And that was, what was the reasoning? It was because they had a good park.
And
Breck had a park. Copper had the pipe.
That's right. They opened early.
That was.
And everybody moved there. Farmer and all those guys moved there because you could ride.
Richards was there.
Yeah, you could ride chairlifts. You could ride a good pipe.
Yep.
Richards and those guys were around that Breck pipe that had a light on it at night. You could hike it.
Yeah.
You could hike until. You could hike it 24 hours.
The first time I went there, like trying to. They were with Gaffney and somebody when they Lamory when they were competing. And,
no way.
Like trying to hike that thing. Like even for coming from Banff, it's like we're not at sea level. Like
oh my God!
Going to hike up the hills.
It's the worst. Yeah, altitude sickness is a killer. Gnarly. It's a killer for sure. I've had it at Mount Hood when we stayed up there, and then I had it in Utah one time where I couldn't even walk up the stairs. I was just like, what
too much.
Is
the Utah
this?
side too. I've never been.
Yeah.
There's a few places I got to get to, but
Brian had Utah. It was really high up. Yeah.
Huh.
The sea level, base level was like. Yeah, I mean, we're sick. You feel like you got the flu. It sucks. But holy smokes, what a trip, hey? How lucky are we that we bumped into this thing that turns out
it's insane.
It's just fucking bottomless.
Like, there's always people that say they're thankful for things, and it's there's always a need to want more. There's always a need to do all these things. Yeah. It's funny that the wants and the needs of like what I would want more, it all kind of still stems back to the same thing of like, what do I want more? Oh, I'd really like to ride more days. Or what do you want more?
You rode this morning.
I would really, exactly, right? It's like, what would I came down this morning and I felt myself being like, man, I'd really like to have a place in Whistler. Like, I don't really like this drive. And I'm thinking about it. I'm like, the old me of like when I left Banff and came out here and was like, I got to get out of Banff. Like Whistler's where it's at. I keep coming out here to shoot and whatever. And then like going from that to, sleeping on Johnson's couch and being like, I can maybe buy a place. Like the thought of like thinking of that and then being like, I'm living in this great place and I'm still like, man, it'd be really nice to have a condo in Whistler that I could
closer.
Oh, it'd be really nice. And it's like, just so that I can be closer, I get one more run.
Isn't that unbelievable?
2 more runs in the morning. Like,
yeah, one more run. That was me yesterday because the storm's coming. It's rain. It's bringing rain to the top of the coastal mountains. Yeah, and my one more run, I got swept in an avalanche, like a small one, but like just that reminder of like, dude, why am I ignoring these signs that I know not to ignore?
Getting warm.
Because one more run, I just wanted one more run.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Yeah,
and I woke up this morning thinking like, okay, I can get 3 more runs before I come up here.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what? That one more
run.
That's how we
timeline everything.
That's it.
One more day, and it's the end of the season. One more time.
That's absolutely it.
It's a weird one.
It is.
That's it. It's if you're that into any other sport, I'm sure it's exactly the same. But
I don't know that I see it. I don't know that I see it with other people. They don't seem to be like, you know what? One more squash game, and
you know what I mean? Probably right. That's right.
Like most of the things are kind of. Well, when we
all consuming.
Yeah, when we put our kids in organized sports, it's just more babysitting, really, as opposed to like the things like you've talked about. I could get dropped off at 9 a.m. and go home at 9 p.m. Just call when you're ready to come home.
Yeah, like, I think that's the thing. There's lots of freedom in anything. It's the same as biking or skateboarding too, right? Like skateboarding, probably more.
Yeah,
of like way less barrier to entry into that than there would be in snowboarding, but the ability to come from that world of like, that was my knowledge of anything to do with like socializing and whatever came from hockey and from whatever it was for how many years, and that was that eye opener. Just like, whoa,
like a ranking
you're not
system.
Going to tell me what to do,
right?
Like I just get to go up here with my buddies and just go.
Yeah, because the ranking system was the thing that always deterred me from organized sport. Was that you're working towards getting recognized so you can get on the all-star team, and there was everybody always kind of knew where they were in the pecking order.
Yeah, right.
Whereas in snowboarding, somebody who's like not that great could like pull off something amazing. You'd be like, you could see a kid, like the other day at Cypress, I saw a kid strapping on the board for the first time. I could tell like his line selection was bad.
Yeah.
He's like not going where the crowds are, and he's out in front of like the food thing. He's gonna run into some people, and I'm like, "Is this your first run ever?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, gave him a little couple pointers. Okay, aim that way. Where are you from? He's like, "I'm from Syria." I'm like, damn, dude.
No way.
Like, great. All right.
No
You're at the right place.
Just out getting in the snow.
You're up here getting your very first snowboard run.
That's awesome.
And that was like, to me, maybe Mikkel Bang's up there that day. See him go, see this kid from Syria. I don't know who I would choose.
I'll send you the photo after, but I went up just before Christmas, or was it Christmas? That POW day I was telling you about.
Yeah.
So I was up
Boxing Day, I think it was.
Whatever day it was, and I'm riding, and I haven't been up that much, and obviously like have kids with gear and everything, and this family gets in the gondola, and they're just going sightseeing, and the kid's like about the age of maybe like he must have been 10 or 11, and the family's talking, we're from Afghanistan, came up from Vancouver doing the thing, and the kid's like, does it hurt? He's like asking me all these questions. Like, how long have you been doing it a long time? And I'm like, it's great. Like, I was just like, oh yeah. And we're talking because it's snowing. Like, it looks beautiful. It has an all season. Like, you guys picked a great day. It was like blue sky that day too.
Oh,
like, just
nice.
Gorgeous, right? Haven't been in the mountains. He's like, and he's all done up. He's like, is it hard to learn? Is it hard? And he just keeps asking the whole gondola ride.
Yeah.
And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, this is so funny. Like, this kid is like really into this. And I'm just like, man, I have it. And it came down to like, do you have like, is it how many snowboards? That was it is. How many snowboards do you have? And I'm kind of like giggle, and I'm like, well, I have a lot of snowboards. And he's like how many? I'm like, he's like 10. I'm like, a lot more than that. And then I tell him like, not ones you'd want to ride. I have a lot though.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, and so I went through the motions, and then his dad's like, yeah, you want to try this, eh? And he's like, I think I want to try. We're in Vancouver. And I was like, okay. And he's like, is it expensive? I'm like, oh, you can go to the Reuse It Center. Like, there's boots, there's all these things. And then I'm like, man, I have a closet with like 4 pairs of boots from last year because the boys outgrew stuff, and I have these stuff.
Right.
And around here, there's no lack of gear anywhere, right? Like, luckily. So yeah, I'm like, I come home, and I'm just like, we've been trying to purge stuff, or my wife would like me to purge more stuff. I have so much shit.
Sure.
But anyway, I come back to the house, and I'm like, I have these boots. And they're like his size. Like, I don't know. They're like nice boots anyway. But I'm like, man, I think I have a board. Like, I go into the thing, and I have this like a board. He's like the same size as the boys. I'm like, it's a little older, but it's a board. I'm like, I go through. I'm like, and he's like, I need to get a helmet and whatever. And I'm like, when Brazzy did his sale last year, I bought a couple helmets, and the one of my boys outgrew it. Like, he didn't even put it on, so it's in the box. So I'm just like, where are you guys? And I said to him, I was like, where are you guys staying in Whistler? And like, oh, we're staying in Squamish. I said, hey, when you get back, and at this point I just said, like, hey, when you get back, call me, send me a text. I have some boots for you. And at least
these are just randos.
These randos. But I'm just like, this kid was so, like, you could see he was just
he's like, I'm going to get to try this thing.
He was the entire gondola ride just plugging away. Like, how long do you think it would take? Is it cold? Like, he was so into it. And I was like, this is so awesome. This kid is just like, going up the lift, watching people. He's looking at my gear because we are like inside the gondola. Yeah. And so his dad sends me a text like, hey Jeff, we're leaving Squamish from the Sandman in whatever 15 minutes, And I'm at home, and I'm like, I'm like, go into the closet. And I'm just like, we had like a pair of gloves. I had a glove. So I go down to the Sandman, and his dad. They're in their minivan. Like, oh, I had a great day. And I'm like, oh yeah. And so, are you gonna try? Yeah, we're gonna go up. We're going to go this week. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I got these boots for you. And he's like, oh, he's like, Merry Christmas. He's like, his dad's like, thank you. His kids all, I'm like, wait, hold on. If you're going to do it for sure. And I open it up. And I'm like, here's a board, and here's a helmet, and here's some gloves. And the kid's eye, he was just like,
yeah.
I could not. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I have so much. Like,
Yeah.
seriously, just seeing you asking those questions.
Yeah.
Like, imagine being able to just do that. Like, I would wish.
Yeah.
But like, we've been able to give it to my kids and see their things and see people's, like, watching that, like,
That's
the first
so
time.
sweet,
and his
dude.
dad said, I'll send you the photo.
Yeah.
His dad texted me like, day one, and it's like him on this board, and I don't, must be at Cypress or Grouse or whatever, like the biggest smile on his face. Like,
amazing.
And I told him, like, make sure you go in it soft, because it kind of like wear some wear hockey pads. If you want. Like,
it's gonna knock you out, man.
Yeah, I was trying to be honest with him, like,
Yeah.
just like, wear some pads or something, because it's really not super fun to fall on your butt all day. But
True.
man, it was so rad just getting this like dad random guy just like, and he's like, yeah, come and have coffee next time. I'm like, sure, like.
I love it.
I'm like,
so
just
much.
tell me, just send me a photo. I just want to see him.
Yeah, I just want to see this
I thought it was
kid's
the greatest thing.
face.
Like,
Yeah, that's so amazing.
yeah, like sharing that day one, like, that
The
day one was
it's
super fun
incredible.
either. But
No.
the first time you were able to like do that
Actually, it
turn
was
where you
all
didn't
right.
hook and fall.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I got this.
Yeah, that takes a while, but yeah.
Yeah. So.
All right, to
Anyway.
be continued, dude. We got lots more to talk
Yeah, I
about.
was gonna say we didn't probably get.
We
through
barely
wanted to.
touched it. Yeah, we barely touched
Just
it. So.
mumble for a couple.
Jeff, thanks for all that you've done in the community. It's been a blast. And so,
Thank you.
Thanks for always. I know whenever I see you at like a Holy Bowly or something, you got your boys, and you've reached out about the podcast a few times, really encouraging shit. So
Oh man,
I really
love
appreciate
it. I'm like,
you, dude.
I love being able to listen to those stories from those, like, all those guys, right? It's awesome to have that place to go.
Yeah.
Like, no one, being able to be, oh, this guy, oh, that's great. I got to hear these stories, and hearing some of the stories that have come out already where you're just like, oh, that ties some stuff together.
I often forget that anyone else listens to it. I just do it for this.
Yeah.
It's just like you and me talking.
Yeah.
So I sometimes forget.
It's easy when it's easy, right?
Yeah,
like that's
yeah,
and that's why I'm
exactly.
saying it'll be a rabbit hole, because it just opens the doors to all these other things.
Yeah.
And I'm the worst for it because I can't focus on anything.
We just lost our.
So you could be like, and we ran out, and he mumbled for another hour.
We still got it on that one. FNRad shoutouts to Jeff Patterson and his whole family this week for hosting me at their home in Squamish. Thanks to you Patreon supporters for keeping FNRad in business with your hard-earned cash. Always appreciate that. Special thanks to Robbie Schmelik and Ian Lamoureux, our two guides at Bald Face Valhalla a couple of weeks back. If you're interested in joining a potential Valhalla cat trip next year, please hit me up with a message and I'll fill you in on the details. And be sure to come back next week for another episode of FNRad Snowboarding, presented by Flojoy Water and brought to you by FNRad Productions.